So no pre-roll.
Nope.
Easy.
Awesome. We can put something wacky in here instead.
Oh, man. What if you told me what it is?
Oh, well, should we talk about that? Should that be a pre-its or a post-its conversation?
What? It's...
Oh, some people whose actual job is to say what it is know that this podcast takes place in the year 2014.
Oh.
Unlike last week's Itzer,
yeah.
fucking Scab Itzer. Itzer's local.
Scab Itzer.
Time machine.
Yeah.
Street urchin.
Yeah. Yeah. From now on, Sean will be known as Scab Itzer. I shouldn't have said his name. Sorry. That's like...
Say it 3 times
Cross
and he
the line.
appears.
It's a breach
You can
of
go
something.
right up until the...
Yeah. We all know who I'm talking about because I said his name earlier accidentally. He replied. What day does this podcast come out? Okay. It's July 16th, 2014. 14.
This is Idle Thumbs 167, I think.
It probably is.
Yeah. I'm the only one who ever does this job.
Yeah,
so
we got to get
as
we got
lax as I want.
It turns out you've always been scabbing as date guy or as episode number guy.
It's true. Anyway, I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
And I'm Danielle Riendo.
And
again.
yeah.
Yeah, I got that and.
This was going to be our live DashCon episode, but that went south.
Yeah, the payment didn't come through.
Oh.
I don't actually want to talk about DashCon, but I kind of do. I don't know the reason to, so we shouldn't talk about it. I don't. DashCon was a fascinating... For the most stupid thing that it was fascinating to me, and I don't know why. But we don't need to talk about it. DashCon, a convention for Tumblr people that shat itself last weekend.
I went to a real con last weekend.
Did it shit
An
itself?
actual one. And it did not even shit itself.
Oh, that's good.
Nice.
No, it
was it DashCon?
No. No, it was like a rainbow explosion. There was no shit involved at all, you know.
All right.
Okay, gross.
Sounds like you were at GaymerX.
I was at GaymerX. That's right. The most fabulous, literally the most fabulous gaming convention in the world. It's basically sort of like an LGBT focused gaming convention. I dare not use the term PAX because it's nothing like PAX, but it's sort of like a fan convention. You know, it's definitely people come to cosplay or to play games or to, you know, see new games. And there's also people go for the programming. There's a lot of speakers and so on and so forth. A lot of things that are around sort of issues of representation. And it's not just queer stuff. It's stuff for like women. It's stuff for, you know, people of color. It's really just a big inclusive sort of conference. And I had a blast and a half.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really, really fun. You know, I was there covering it somewhat for Polygon. You know, I'm writing a couple of pieces, but really I was also there
covering
to
like
have
the
fun.
major platform keynotes.
Yes, clearly when Sony and Microsoft had their, showdown at the GaymerX floor.
Exclusives?
Yeah, who won GaymerX?
Clearly, I think it belongs to the cosplayer who was dressed as an old NES console. They did a really amazing job, actually. Right. Yeah, it was pretty great.
So Nintendo won GaymerX.
Yeah, basically. Although there were actually two people who were dressed as unrenderable women. It was sort of a joke on the Assassin's Creed. You know, we can't animate women.
Yeah.
Just people inside of giant black cubes with an Assassin's Creed belt on.
Yeah.
I thought that was good.
Exactly. And it just said like boobs too hard to render, you know, like written on the little boxes. That was pretty good. So I feel like the cosplayers won. And also just, I think it was kind of a vindication for the folks who run GaymerX because things weren't, you know, this is public knowledge, but it didn't look too good for a while. There were no sponsors for a while. You know, they were afraid they were going to lose a lot of money. They were really afraid, you know, they were saying this is going to be the last one because we're losing so much money on this. And then last minute, you know, attendance shot up and a bunch of sponsors kind of came in. Ubisoft, 2K, Riot Games, they all sort of showed up and, you know, sort of attached their brand to it. So that was really nice to see, like, companies sort of putting their money where their, their money where their mouth was, sort of.
Literally putting their money where their mouth sort of is.
Basically, yes. There's all sorts of mouths and money involved. No, but it was really, really great. And the programming was very, very good. Better than a lot of things I feel like I go to. You know, I love GDC. It feels like, you know, when I go to GDC, there's just a tremendous breadth of quality in programming. You know, there are talks that are great, and then there are talks that are redundant.
Yeah. It's enormous. Yeah, that happens.
So this felt, everything I went to at least felt enlightening, and this is sort of the space I write in every day, so that felt really great for me. It wasn't just sort of like, a lot of times when you go to panels that have to do with inclusion or about, you know, queer characters or feminism or anything representation related, it really feels like feminism 101 kind of, you know, women's studies class 101. But this felt far above and beyond that, so that was really nice to see too.
Cool.
Yeah.
As far as the stuff that is not talks, I haven't actually I don't have a sense of what this show is. I mean, is it actually PAX-like in that there are game demos, there are places to play?
Yeah.
Like, is there like tabletop space and stuff like that too? Okay, so it's not just video gaming, it's like
all games.
Game.
Yeah. Game. Yeah. It is. I mean, there's a room with all card games and board games.
So it is very similar to the Penny Arcade, like the earlier scope.
Yes, the early
PAXs.
ones. But without, you know, some of the gross stuff. But there's not a lot
of Dick Wolf shirts.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Like, all the sort of volunteers, I spoke with them, and they're good friends of mine who run it, so, you know, it's nice to always be able to see sort of what's going on with that. But I spoke to Tony Roca, who's the president of GaymerX, about this, and every volunteer went through, like, a really extensive training about just making people feel included.
Sure.
Because this is the sort of thing where, like, you know, folks who are non-binary or trans or whatever, you know, just all sorts of people are really welcome there, and they really kind of went out of their way to make sure everybody felt welcome, which is really, really nice. And it's sort of this thing where, like, you know, it was the only gaming conference I can ever imagine being able to, like, be affectionate towards my girlfriend at. And, you know, she's in the industry as well.
Being fucking heckled or
exactly.
whatever. Yeah.
Or just feeling like I was, you know, the center of attention in a room or something.
Without eyes rotating slowly in their sockets. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the appeal for me, for sure. And I know, you know, there are people there who, like, they really need kind of a safe space. You know, I can kind of blend into the world. But, like, you know, there are definitely folks who, like, they really don't feel comfortable in a pretty standard gaming environment. So it's very, very important. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Really enjoyed myself.
That's cool.
And sounds like we'll do it again next year.
I'm hoping. They don't really know at this point.
Yeah,
you know, they sort of said they were just about broke even with all the sort of last minute stuff.
Events are tough. They're expensive.
Yep.
Yeah. And this venue is apparently just crazy expensive. It was at the Intercontinental. Downtown. So it was quite fancy.
Yeah, that's a legit hotel.
Yeah, it was very, very nice. Well run, you know, all the good stuff. So cool. I'm really hoping, my fingers are crossed, that, you know, the game they're making, Read Only Memories, is, like, wildly successful, and it helps them, you know.
About that, I think, on the cast
a little bit. It's sort of like a queer cyberpunk adventure. So it looks like fun too. They're showing it off.
Cool.
That doesn't sound like DashCon at all.
This actually happened, you know.
This doesn't sound like DashCon at all. I thought we were going to talk about DashCon.
Where was my DashCon? You know, the ball pit thing, that is a thing that I feel like GaymerX would benefit from. I feel
probably
like
not from a, like, 6 square
foot.
The
photos of the ball
I
pit?
did. The one sad person.
Inflatable kids swimming pool, like the size of a large dinner table.
Yeah.
Deflating with one guy in it.
It was really quite sad.
The craziest thing about it is when they were asking for... So we don't have to talk about this. God damn it.
Here's the problem with
You
this.
might as well just talk about
We keep saying enough about it. Like, we keep trying to walk up to the line of not having to explain what this is, but then we can't resist continuing to talk about it.
It's so outrageous.
I think we should just let it go and just talk about it.
Okay.
Like, let the instinct go.
We can't let it go too long. We have to...
We've talked about the latest game scoops.
Yeah. When the organizers of DashCon spontaneously just demanded $17,000 from the attendees because they claimed they were going to get kicked out of the hotel or not. And it's completely inconclusive according to reports as to whether that was true or not. Maybe it was. One of the things I think that they offered...
No, this was a different thing. Okay, so we have to back up one step. Sorry. DashCon was a convention held last weekend in Los Angeles somewhere in Southern California.
Like Illinois or something.
Oh, is it Illinois? Really? I thought it was in Southern California for some reason. Oh. Weird. Whatever. It was a convention held somewhere in the United States that was intended to be for like some subsets of Tumblr culture. Like they had...
The way they described themselves was the Tumblr people who like Sherlock, Supernatural, and fucking something else.
Welcome to Night Vale was one of the things listed. I think like it seemed like it's just the shows and podcasts that you associate with Tumblr culture. Some people did an Indiegogo to try and put on a convention for all of those fans to meet up. They didn't meet their goal, but since it's Indiegogo, they got to keep the money and not give it back.
Oh, Harry Potter was the third thing.
It was Schaumburg, Illinois, or Squamberg.
Wow, crazy!
It's a perhaps German.
But yeah, anyway, needless to say, they charged a bunch of money per ticket for a thing that they told the hotel apparently like 6,000 or 7,000 people would show up at, but only under 1,000 people showed up. Also, they were only admitting 500 people a day. There was no way this thing was ever going to exist. Welcome to Night Vale podcast showed up. Then they were, because they were like the headlining act, but then it was revealed that they couldn't be paid for, so they left.
Oh my god!
There's the photo that showed up on the internet the most says "Welcome to DashCon," and it's just an empty warehouse with a ball pit in the middle of it with like two people standing next to it.
And the bouncy castle in the background.
Like a half deflated bouncy castle.
Oh my god, it's out of control. But the $17,000 thing was the thing that I think made everyone freak out about it.
Right. Okay. So there's a separate thing where if you paid.
Oh, it was if you. I think it was people who were bummed out that they were not able to go to the Welcome to Night Vale podcast, which was a separate paid ticket on top of your $65 paid ticket.
That was it. So
you were then told you could have an extra hour.
You were given an extra hour in the ball pit, which is just this horrible.
You can sit in a child's swimming pool full of plastic balls that only go like up to your ankle,
and most of them are actually outside of.
Yeah, they all fell out of the. Oh my god!
It's really the saddest ball pit in the world.
Oh my god!
It was fascinating to look at because it was like a human, like it's not a crime scene because like no one is murdered, but it's just like a human experience crime scene to look at this and just be like, oh my god, the attendees of this thing must be terrible. Yeah. Oh my god, if you're any of the guests, this is terrible. If you're the organizers of this thing, it's terrible. Like everyone's lives were just just fucking
ruined. And one of the crazy things about it is that because it's an event that is built around extremely kind of devoted subgroups of a social media website, it means that all of the reporting is on blogs and on individual Tumblr accounts and not the news. Like this is never going to be like notable
things the news does not care about. A failed 500-person Tumblr,
right?
Like third-party Tumblr convention.
He was a Tumblr actually with that ball pit.
And within this community itself, and within the sort of blogs that cover this kind of thing, the volume of reporting on it is like 100 times what it would be if some other just model train convention fails.
It gave you the thrill,
no one notices ever. But
it gave you the brief thrill of like investigative journalism and like covering a real-time tragic event as it's happening. But it's all just like, oh, this guy kind of vaguely mentions this person's Tumblr account. Oh, they're also talking about it. Now I can learn that people gave the fucking Hunger Games salute and to unify themselves
while singing "We Are the Champions."
God.
Well, also like all tweeting aggressively to try and raise $17,000 to pay off the extra hotel money that they may or may not have wanted. Right. But just following that stupid web.
Yeah, because Tumblr's already set up like that, where you look at a post and you realize it's like the 90th nested post inside 89 other reblogs, and like, it's crazy. You and I, Jake, spent hours on Sunday piecing through all the, but I think actually at the time, before it had made it onto a lot of actual like blogs.
Yeah, it was just people were tweeting about it, so we followed those to a couple Tumblrs, and then found people talking about other Tumblrs inside of those Tumblrs.
Yeah.
And it was the stupidest thing, but
And then a fake Tumblr called DashCon Staff popped up.
Oh my god.
Like just further exacerbating it with like satirical things that were posing as real claims.
If it was about something more interesting, it's the sort of thing that you would expect to be like a 90s majestic style ARG like interactive experience, except that it's just about
or like a 10-page Wired feature.
Right, except that experiencing it in real time feels like like you're inside of a constructed thing where you're finding out the truth about this story as it unfolds, except that it's about people, like, it's about nothing. But yeah, you're right. If it also was about something more interesting, like had DashCon been like security professionals or something,
right?
Then it would be a 10-page Wire featurette that doesn't quite make the cover, but is called out on the cover.
Yeah,
that's fascinating. It's just the internet in real life, basically.
The thing about it,
like
absolutely.
You know,
because of the aspect that you described, though, about the digging through, like the fact that it's a convention about the semi-ephemeral, pseudo-anonymous medium. Then the coverage of it is semi-ephemeral and pseudo-anonymous. That's the part that actually makes it interesting to turn into a Wired feature. Not the actual collapse of the event, but the documentation of the collapse of the event.
But you also, if I were writing this as a Wired feature, you would tie that...
If anyone's listening at Wired.
You would tie that thematically in to the impossibility of this like dream of taking something that you love because of this weird interconnected intangibility of it and concretizing it into the real world. And
so this is a Tumblr cannot actually be brought into our world story at the same time?
Is, because this is the thing that people on the internet love. Like this is, in fact, I think what a lot of Silicon Valley is about too, is getting yourself wrapped up into this idea that like this completely abstract idea you have or like this silly concept that you think is incredible inside this like very insular community you have that might in fact be incredible in the context of that community, right? Like these people have their own community on Tumblr, and that's fine. I'm not saying that's like a bad thing, but there's definitely something about social media and the way people interact with it in modern technology that leads people to extrapolate that out into thinking that this can then become a real world incredible phenomenon in physical space, which is why we have so many stupid apps that don't do anything useful and why people unfortunately, like in this case, are like heartbroken because they try to take this like complete, like this community that the glue of this community only exists because of the parts of it that do not exist in real life.
Yeah, well,
which, as you say, is like the pseudo anonymity, the like infinite repeatability with nested reblogs and things like that. And then of course it's not going to work when you put it into the waveform fucking collapses as soon as you have to render it in 3D.
It also
I like that metaphor a lot.
Yeah, you did it. Hearing that, like the reason that I've been thinking about it is because I wanted to claim this was a failed DashCon episode at the beginning of the episode. But the thing that made me keep thinking about it though was Danielle talking about GaymerX, because those two events happening on the same weekend, and one of them feeling like it was teetering on the edge of like it's either going to completely collapse and just there's going to be no record of it, or it's going to succeed and be made like it was material and existed and is over now. Like DashCon, for all of the stupid stuff about it and the fact that I'm sure had more competent people been running it or trying to conceive of it or whatever scale issues it had, it gives you respect for the continued existence of things like GaymerX and like the XOXO and even and like PAX, which is a fucking 5 Expo institution now and has all of the hideous problems that come with becoming a 5 Expo institution. But like when that thing started, it was probably very similar to what maybe 2x the attendance of DashCon would have looked like.
You think so?
I think when the first PAX was in like the Bellevue Convention
wasn't
Center.
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was only a few hundred people.
Yeah,
I don't think I was very aware of it.
It didn't even start in Seattle. Yeah, it was small.
Huh.
But I don't know. It's
I mean, I think you're probably right. Yes. I mean, running anything like this is harrowing. Running anything in life is harrowing. That's actually a more generalized version of sort of being accustomed to doing things on the internet where everything just kind of facilitates itself naturally.
And if something on the internet fails,
nothing happens.
Right.
Like, I mean, it doesn't affect anything really. I mean, you could be bummed about it, but like it's not going to like cascade into the Indiana Jones boulder.
Before it was there and after it's gone, no additional space is being used in any possible definition.
Yes, because the internet is infinitely big. There is no space to take up. There's no rarity of space.
Right.
And like scarcity of space is what makes this stuff hard to do, because it actually costs money to rent a hotel room because space is not infinite in the real world.
And people need to travel, which is also one of the biggest.
Exactly. They have to traverse space. But like, yeah, in a more generalized sense, it's so easy to forget how hard it is to make actual tangible things happen when you spend all your time only making digital things, as we all do, basically. Yeah. For the most of the time, anyway. Once that like runs into reality, it's just a totally different thing. And yeah, like when you can manage to take an event, like as you know, Danielle, you described with GaymerCon, like the fact that they pulled that out at the end is awesome. And probably actually the reality of that is that that's probably testament to the fact that before it was a lock that it was going to go off well, probably actually they were just doing it right in the first place, which is what created the conditions that allowed it to be saved at the end, right?
Yeah.
Because it's
and probably they were aware of the fact that it needed to be saved, probably.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, whereas very much so.
Versus just being like, I'm here, I guess everyone else will probably be here soon.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, they ran a smaller convention last year, you know, and it was in, I don't remember the venue, but I remember it being a much smaller venue, and they sort of, you know, felt like, oh, that was a good, you know, kind of test run.
Yeah.
And now we'll bring it up, you know, to this level, so on and so forth.
Totally. And there's no guarantee that those last minute things will come in, but they're only going to come in if you've done your due diligence ahead of time and create the conditions that allow that to happen.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, a thing a lot of people don't necessarily fully appreciate when they take their kind of intangible idea and try to realize it as something fully constructed. And that really applies, I guess, to digital stuff as well, not just real world stuff, but like going through that whole process of thinking through the variables to the best that you can.
Well, once your idea requires any amount of your own infrastructure creation, it becomes or like support system creation. If it's like, I mean, uploading a YouTube video of yourself talking into a webcam that's built into your computer, and I don't mean this to be disparaging to that, which is what it's about to sound like, is the easiest path to creating content. The moment that you have to purchase an external camera and film something and edit it, the chances of that not happening basically like
skyrocket.
Quadruple.
Yeah. And then just extrapolate out from there to you're putting on a convention or you're a band that's touring or whatever, you know, like, I don't know.
Yeah, there are more and more steps that either rely on yourself to create additional infrastructure or work in a more complex pipeline or have additional external dependencies on other people who have to do the same. Man, those are all points of complication and potential failure.
Watching DashCon explode in real time, the thing that I thought about a million things, but one of the things that it definitely made me think about is when I worked at Telltale, I was on like the booth crew because when the company was small, I was in the like marketing and web and PR and events group, which was like 4 people, but like it made me immediately think to my memories of being at Comic-Con and PAX and E3 and whatever else, and seeing like the 2 people who we knew were our contacts there just running around with a headset in and like 15 clipboards and being like, but like seeing DashCon explode made me more tangibly understand what those people were actually doing, because you can read about every single failure point happening. It's like like the disaster movie where it's like, we didn't even know these systems were here until they all turned off one after the other. And you're like, oh, that's what that guy was doing. Right. I see it now that it's gone.
Yep, that's exactly true.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. The convention talk is surely not that interesting to people after a certain point, but it's, I can't not think about it.
There was a successful and an unsuccessful convention this weekend.
Yeah, GaymerX sounds really cool. I wasn't entirely aware that it was happening until everyone who I know in San Francisco in the gaming community just said they were there having a really good time, and all the photos of it looked amazing, and then I felt stupid for not going to it.
Oh. Apparently there was a lot of that on Twitter. Tony, the president of GaymerX, was saying, like, you know, they were almost like consoling people on Twitter as much as they were tweeting about the convention. You know, there were so many people being like, oh, this looked fun. I didn't realize this was happening.
Marketing's hard when you don't have a big institution.
It's tough. I mean, I'm going to say a thing that sounds inadvertently shitty, but when the convention is called GaymerX, GaymerX, the aspects of the convention that are not specifically issue focused, but are just like, this is also just a general convention that is inclusive and has conversations about that in it and is aware of that.
Yeah.
That's a way more complicated thing to convey than you can possibly convey. And the name GaymerX probably doesn't do it a lot of favors in explaining the aspects of it that are just like the middle of the Venn diagram that includes every single person who likes this stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Is like,
And who isn't just hostile to.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because, so many people who were there were not queer. They were just interested in hanging out and, seeing Anita Sarkeesian talk about being a woman on the internet, or to see Sean Allen talk about, people of color making games and things like that. So
I'm also not trying to say that's why I didn't go, because that's not why it was, but it's until I saw everyone post all the stuff from what was inside of it, I had no idea what was inside of it.
Sure, yeah.
But now that one has happened at the scale that it has happened, I suspect if they can pull off another one, the attendance will probably go up based on the perception of or just based on what, my perception of sort of what social media was doing during that event, which was people just going, "Holy shit, why am I not at this?
This is awesome." Yeah, totally. There was really good buzz, and I would love to see more people go to that sort of thing, just because it's so all-inclusive. It really kind of doesn't matter who you are, what you are. It was just come as you are, everybody's happy, let's all be happy.
That's awesome.
Magical for the game industry.
But does it have a diversity lounge?
The whole thing is the diversity lounge.
Oh man.
Yeah. Yep. There was plenty of I mean, I go to PAX sometimes, and I've enjoyed it and so on and so forth. And there are definitely a lot of people in sort of communities I'm in online who are against, going to PAX at all and, giving them your money. And I think there are fair arguments either way for that sort of thing. But this really did feel like a good PAX, this would be PAX if I, had everything I wanted out of it, basically. It kind of felt very tailor-made to somebody like me who just is super happy to be there and see all these things that cater kind of to me, but also to many, many, many other people.
Did you play any sweet games?
I did. Although I didn't really play too much at GaymerX, but I played sweet games.
Okay, good.
What kind of sweet games?
Sweet games. I'm reviewing a game right now that's pretty sweet, but it has some issues. It? Yes, I think so. It just came out today, so I'm pretty sure I can talk about it. The embargo was last night at midnight, so... It's called...
I declare it to be fine.
I declare it fine. I get fired tomorrow.
I declare that not.
No,
Chris
I
declares
nullify.
that embargo busted.
Embargo.
Bust that embargo, Danielle.
Bust that embargo.
Oh man, bust your bargo, please, in your Rhode Island accent. Jake has not heard this, presumably, unless you listen to the episode.
I listened to choice pieces.
Yeah.
I also was asked to do my native accent on the... Bomb in the AM yesterday morning.
Oh, nice. On Patrick Levick's
pretty
thing.
fun. Yeah, exactly. Well, okay. The game is called Abyss Odyssey.
Yeah.
It is the new game. Oh, should I do this in my accent?
Do whatever you want. It's your day.
It's up to you.
I'll weave into it.
Sure.
As we go. It's by the team that made Zeno, Clash, and Rock of Ages. Yeah. I don't know if anybody remembers that one.
I absolutely remember both of those.
Yeah.
That team is crazy.
What is the team's name?
Ace Team.
Ace Team, man. With the weirdest...
Yeah, they're Chilean. Yeah.
With their logo that's like a weird sort of morph into playing card shapes.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's really cool.
I like Rock of Ages, even though it was... all their games are cool, but have issues, right?
Right. Xenoclash, I thought, was better than Rock of Ages. Rock of Ages was like a cool idea that they basically put on the screen. Xenoclash, I thought, was a little more substantial, but I like this team a lot because I like any indie team.
Wasn't Xenoclash also the game? Sorry to interrupt you again. Wasn't Xenoclash the game that was supposed to be it was a tiny slice of their Ultimate Xenolords world experience or something?
Like maybe.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Anyway,
the full thing.
They made a second one too.
Yeah, they did.
They made
I didn't
2 games.
Really play for some reason.
You were going to say something about them being an indie team.
Oh, I was just going to say I really respect how far afield they go with every game they make.
Yeah.
They don't settle. That team has never settled into one particular art style or one particular kind of game at all.
An Ace Team game is only recognizable because it is insane.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Basically.
And I had never even heard of this game until an hour ago. Basically, Danielle, 10 minutes before you got to the office, I saw a tweet from Steve saying, "What? There's a new game by the Xenoclash guys and it's already out?" And then upon seeing that tweet, my brain went, "What? There's a new game by the Xenoclash guys and it's already out?"
Yeah.
So the answer is yes to
So
Steve
what is this
and
video
yes to
game?
me.
There is. Yeah, okay. So it's very much an Ace Team game. Absolutely all the way.
Weird?
In that it's totally weird. It has its own style. It has its own weird lore. And it's a mix of 6
Weird
different
lore.
genres. Yeah, it's actually really cool. I think I feel pretty much the way you both do about they always make interesting, colorful, weird, slightly insane games that all have kind of issues, you know, some gameplay issues, but they're so much fun to just sort of dive into and see what the hell is going on in the, you know, in the team members' minds when they were making this. So this is let me see if I can get every genre here in one sentence. It's basically a roguelike platformer in the vein of Spelunky. It's also
Wait a second. Okay, so I started to read a description of this game to try to figure out what it was.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of describing, and I still didn't know what it was. And also, none of it even touched on that. So this game is clearly indescribable.
I'm not even like a quarter of the way to what goes on in this game.
So that's sort of my interest.
Yes. I mean, I figured that might interest you. It's also a brawler / arena sort of style fighting game.
Okay.
And an RPG.
Yeah, sure.
What isn't?
Why not?
Yeah.
Well, these days.
Yeah.
I mean,
please.
There's
RPG.
Everything, you know, basically. What you do, basically, you have a hero character. Her name is Catrienne. When you begin the game, it takes place in sort of like an alt history 19th century Chile. And there is and there is a warlock who is sleeping and dreaming, and his dreams are becoming reality in the real world. All these mythical monsters are running around. There's like centaurs running around and ents running around and all these strange creatures. E-N-T.
Like giant trees from Lord of the Rings.
Exactly.
Okay.
Giant trees that beat people up. There's all sorts of things.
Hopefully they're just street thugs who just walk around beating people up.
Basically. In this game, it's kind of how they are, yes. Basically.
All right. Keep going.
Still down, yeah. Catrienne, the heroine, is also a dream from the warlock. So she is able to sort of fight them effectively. That's the entire premise of the game.
So his dream is like developing antibodies.
Sort of, yeah. She is the white blood cell to his warlock evil, basically. You jump into the abyss, as it is.
Wait, so he's a bad guy?
Sort of, but he's also somewhat sympathetic. Okay. Let me explain even further.
He's cleaning up his own mess with his fantasy lady in his brain.
Although they can have some fights along the way. Apparently, she is also his wife. There are levels upon levels upon levels.
Is she also his arm?
Oh my god. That was the Bionic Commando remake, wasn't it?
Yep.
It was really hard.
Dead wife arm.
Yeah, dead wife arms. I haven't encountered any lore that says she's physically part of his body, but you know, I wouldn't put it past Ace Team.
I mean, dreams are just like synapses and shit, right, man?
Yeah, you know, it's all physical.
I don't know what dreams are.
It's synapses and shit.
I mean,
yeah,
it's all chemicals, man. I don't know where I'm going at this.
You already went there and you've returned.
We're already back.
All right.
So you jump into the abyss, and the abyss is 12 or so. Yeah, you can gaze into it, and then you play it with like 12-ish. I mean, it depends on which path you go. There's sort of 3 main paths. One is a harder path, one is a more moderate path, and one is the easiest path. They're all randomly generated platformer stages where all these creatures will attack you in between jumping over lava and, you know, avoiding ice falling from the sky, things like that.
Got the classics covered as well as all the other weird shit.
Basically, yes. And there are also things like fish that sort of swim through the air and freeze you. There's a lot of fish imagery in this game that you never quite know where it's coming.
That team would be into.
Yeah.
Weird fish
that fly around the screen. There's a lot of that.
That doesn't surprise me.
This game... Is it made in 3D? Like, is it rendered like a 3D thing?
I mean, it's a 2D game. The art might be rendered.
I saw in 3D screenshots and it looked like they were. But
does everyone have the sort of gummy-looking skin that other Ace Team games have?
Sort of.
That's actually the thing that I identify most with as Ace Team stuff. Is that they have
talking about.
Everything has a weird like matte,
almost, or like
it's like kind of just looks like it's made out of clay.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
A little bit,
like starting to dry, so like it's perspiring a little bit, but it's also just kind of just dry and looks like if you pushed into any of it, it would like just sort of like leave a dent.
Yeah, leave a dent or like. Do the thing that Play-Doh does where it kind of starts to split a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Like all their flesh just looks...
A little... Yeah.
It's like a little...
Play-Doh-y.
A little dusty.
Do you think it's intentional?
I don't know. I hope it is.
I actually think the art in this game is really beautiful.
It's got like 2D stuff overlaid on top of what looks like 3D.
Yeah.
Possibly.
The things might be rendered in 3D.
But then like 2D graphics also overlaid on top of it.
So you run and jump over platforming stuff while fighting street thug living trees that want to beat the shit out of you.
And centaurs and sea monsters and vomiting
and
zombies.
Fish.
Yeah, and freezing fish. And also there's definitely an enemy that is, I believe is actually from Chilean lore, and it's Voladora, I think, is the name of the creature. It sort of like has the head of a bird but the legs of a person. And it sort of like dives at you with its beak. And the combat is actually really, really intense in this game. You know, I was sort of expecting it to be a brawler. You know, when I first sort of loaded up, I was like, as much as everybody hates these things, it's like easy, you know, to describe things this way. You know, like I thought it was kind of going to be like Dragon's Crown mixed with Spelunky or something like that. It's much
That's
more
what the
like,
art looks like.
Yeah, and it is very much what the art looks like, only less disgusting. Like the women characters are not like, their boobs are not bigger than their heads, the way Dragon's Crown was, for sure. But it's much more like Smash Brothers. It feels more like playing Smash Brothers. I know. Believe me.
Like, huh?
It feels like controlling a fighting game.
Smash Brothers, Danielle says as she winks at each person in the room.
Right.
And then also Dota.
Boss battles with these
I know, I'm like, where's Sean?
Sean just busts through the door.
There's also a lot of Dota in this game. I guess the art is almost a little high fantasy,
like color palette,
Dota-ish. Yeah, it's very colorful, very bright.
If it has a hat store in it, then Sean will also be intrigued.
There are many hats in this game, for sure. I did not actually... So, the game comes together fairly well, but it doesn't kind of stick the landing. You know, like there are all these mechanics.
That's their deal, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what you expect going into one of these games. Yeah. But it is very fun. I've spent 12 or so hours with it so far, and I've really enjoyed most of those hours. There's co-op too, which makes it a lot more fun. The AI kind of ranges from horribly stupid to way too good. You know, there's a lot of AI balance issues for sure. And the platforming is a little milquetoast. It's not really the focus of the game, even though it looks like it is.
I'm not buying the Spelunky claim because
it's more just
levels are like intricate and crazy. This looks a lot more.
You just mean more in that it's a randomly generated platformer.
Exactly, just roguelike platformer.
And I guess Spelunky's not really a platformer necessarily, but the levels are intricate.
Yeah, and it has the sort of roguelike element where when you die, you die. You just go back to the beginning of the abyss, basically, and you have to go through the whole thing again.
Yeah.
You do get to keep your experience points, which is nice. So you are leveling up your character with every kill. You get XP, but you don't get to keep your equipment or anything like that. So, and you're getting money, you're getting treasure, sort of the standard things for this kind of genre. I'm torn on it. I really like playing it.
Yeah.
But I feel like there are definitely areas where
what was the best fight that you got in that game?
Oh God, there was an Ent.
What is the sickest fight?
There was an Ent I was fighting.
Yeah.
And I used my power, and you also have upgradable abilities and powers and so on and so forth. I used my power to capture the Ent and turn myself into the Ent, and then I beat up whatever the other creatures were that I used. That was probably the coolest fight I've gotten into. And you get to fight the warlock himself at the end of the, the abyss. So that's always kind of fun. He has a lot of fish flying around too. Again, I don't know what it is with the fish.
That's fine.
It's just his
So
attack.
you're fighting him inside his own dream?
Yes, and he has this weird tree mask form.
His dream is becoming manifest in real life.
Yes.
So are you inside the head of the warlock or not? Probably not. You're probably in real life and just his dreams are projecting out of his body and becoming real.
So do you fight him like asleep? Do you just like punch him in the face as he's lying in bed?
Is he asleep? Or is he having waking dreams?
You fight his form.
You fight his like mental conception of himself.
And then when you beat his form, you actually walk over to his physical sleeping normal body.
Spoilers.
I'm sorry. I bet you wake up the warlock and he goes...
Ugh. And then it deletes your computer.
And then
Well, I mean, this is the sort of thing, like, if you have a good run, if you get all the way through, this is what you do every 90 minutes. So it's not really, like, I guess it's a spoiler if you play more than 90 minutes.
Right? You beat this, like, big boss. And then...
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
And the warlock sort of,
sorry about that.
F4, delete local content. And then he falls asleep as the game is uninstalling itself.
I mean, that would be taking it to the next level. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To play the next 90-minute run, purchase this game.
The game just has recursive DLC where you buy the game again as DLC inside the game, and every time you buy it again, you're buying DLC for the previous game that you bought as DLC.
It's a Voladora.
What is that?
Sorry. It's a Chilean magical creature that's half bird, half man, all angry at you.
Those guys like that as a theme for sure, because as I recall, Xenoclash had a bunch of characters with kind of beak-like appendages and kind of weird bird-like features, even though they weren't birds necessarily. They were kind of humanoids.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. I mean, there's just so many things that are also thrown into this game. Like, there is a dude who is a skeleton. He's a skeleton man strumming a flamenco guitar, and he gives you shitty advice for 100 coins. He just says things like, just random shit.
I've heard enough about this game that I feel like I want to look at it before I know too much more about what's going on in it. Do you have any interest, Chris, in actually, and Danielle, if you want, in trying to stream this game at some time in the next week or couple of weeks?
That would actually be really great.
Because I feel like this game unfolding would be worth documenting. Okay. Have either of you played any more Shovel Knight since 2 weeks ago? A lot more of it. Okay.
That's the only game I've played since last week.
Oh, really?
I've played some phone stuff, I guess.
I don't have a whole lot to talk about in regards to Shovel Knight, but it reminded me of a bunch of stuff I wanted to talk about. But did you have anything else other than... did you guys talk about it last week at all?
No, I don't think
okay.
Yeah.
We talked about it 2 weeks ago, though.
Yeah. So I like Shovel Knight a lot. I feel like I'm starting to reach the point I reach in a lot of games, though, where I'm getting diminishing returns of just my personal enjoyment.
How far in are you at this point?
I've beat half the bosses.
Okay.
And it has that kind of Mega Man style boss thing where the bosses kind of mark your progress through the game, right? I mean, that's how I interpret it.
So are you you're up to and possibly past the second village and stuff like that?
Where you buy armor and weapons and stuff?
Yeah.
That's what you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, I've gotten there and bought some stuff. And I really like this game a lot. I think this game is great, and I would recommend it. I'm starting to kind of get a little weary, though, I suppose. There are a lot of things that a lot of games like this have that I never personally find very effective. Like, there's an enemy type in this game that's kind of, I think it's like a rat or something, some kind of rodent.
Where when it hits the ground, it explodes?
It hits the ground and explodes, and it also kind of jumps at you in a way that just makes the whole experience... The jumping combined with the hitting the ground and exploding just makes those encounters feel really erratic in a way that isn't satisfying.
Oh, wait, what do the rats feel like?
So scary? I don't know what you're asking.
Oh, no, you described them using a word, their behavior.
Did I say super erratic?
You just said erratic.
Oh.
You just said erratic rats.
Erratic rats.
Jesus Christ. Okay, thanks, Jake.
Wait, that's my next platformer, animal platformer.
I was jumping to all the points in my brain to try and figure out what you could be chastising me for. I didn't know.
Did I say super?
Yeah.
Bespoke.
Yeah, oh God. These bespoke rat encounters. Actually, I fucking wish they were more bespoke than they are. I guess you can't really be more bespoke. You're either that or not. But
like being a little bit pregnant.
Right. They feel I eventually just got good at them, but I got good at them in the rote way that has, you know what I mean? That
yep.
I feel like, okay, it was a pain in the ass for a while. Now I just kind of get how to do it. But at no point during that curve did I find it that interesting.
The times in that game where you are able to sort of slow down and look at a room, I wish that the enemies collided with each other and with the world more.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe I'm just spoiled because of Spelunky in that regard, because that game is all about that. And this game is just not at all. There's an enemy type where I think I actually even mentioned this enemy before, where they have a shield that they can hold in front, behind, or above them, and you can just because of the way your weapon works, the shovel, you can use it as sort of a pogo stick and bounce off certain world objects as well as enemies. And typically you do damage when you bounce off of enemies, but you don't against these guys usually, because they generally, once you start to descend on them, they put their shield up. So then you're bouncing just continually on their shield as long as you keep pogoing on their shield. And when you bounce on them, you apply a very small physics impulse, so you can actually skid them around by bouncing on them towards their edge. You'll push them in the other direction. And when I did that, I'm like, oh, this is cool. This is kind of an interesting kind of just byproduct of the systems of the game. I like stuff like this. And I was on a platform that had a kind of like a fireball emitter from the ground, that just every 2 seconds
and you want to push the guy into the flame.
And I pogoed on the guy and pushed him all the way into the flame, and he just didn't take any damage because those things just don't interact. The fire only does damage to you. And I'm like, oh man, what a good moment that would have been if I had like made 3 different systems in this game all interact, you know, the fireball thing, the pogo stick thing, and his shield thing. If I'd made those all interact in a way that the world would do damage to him, that would be so cool. And it just, you know, it didn't happen, which in itself is not a criticism of the game necessarily. Right. It's just that the number of hours, I've now spent several hours playing this game, and I feel like at this point, I either want there to be more depth to keep up with my understanding of the game, or I just want the game to kind of wrap itself up. Because at this point, I don't really feel like I'm getting new things out of it. I'm just doing more of what's there.
Yep.
And I don't mean that to be a huge negative point against Shovel Knight specifically, because I like this game a lot. This is just a feeling I get with a lot of games. And it's just kind of, I guess, inevitable with this type of game where it's just keep doing this thing, and there's a lot of levels of it, right? Games where it's like, play just a bunch of levels. This is, I feel like, is just almost inevitable. Unless the game is really clever or paced unusually well or short or something. Like there has to be something to mitigate that, you know? And
I mean, because of that, for me, Shovel Knight has now turned into the, like, I take a few cracks at the level that I'm on, and then I just don't play it anymore. But I like when the first half of that game, I just plowed through it, and now it's just like
it's the same with me.
Like, I'm done eating dinner, and there's nothing going on for a half hour. Maybe I'll like try to beat this blah 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 knight, whatever he is. Have you played it, Danielle?
No, I haven't, but I am actually really tempted to play it.
You should check it out.
You should.
It's definitely worth playing.
I don't want to undersell it. It's the amount I enjoyed the first several hours was high, you know?
Okay.
So.
Yeah, it's totally worth
honestly
diving
plenty
in.
of time for me anyway. Like I don't need to play a game for 8 hours or whatever to have enjoyed it.
The thing that Shovel Knight was making me think about was, well, it's because we talked about some of the similar Spelunky versus Shovel Knight platforming, like Spelunky kind of spoiling you for on platformers and stuff. Not you, Chris, but just people who
potentially someone.
Like once you see all of those things working as harmoniously as they do in Spelunky, you are kind of saddened when you don't when your brain starts predicting them as a given in other games and they're not there. But the place that I jumped from there was kind of simultaneously with Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight emulates a Nintendo game, or emulates the spirit of a Nintendo game. And it's so close to a Nintendo game that they'd have to make a couple aesthetic concessions, but they could probably build Shovel Knight as an NES cartridge and it would just go. Like it feels like the complexity of later era NES games.
If they didn't have like computation issues and stuff like that, like if the hard limits were not there.
I mean, they probably would have to concede things aesthetically to make it work, but like the density
the basic design,
the density of the levels, the number of enemies on screen, the basic design of the game could be a reasonably complicated and robust Nintendo game, probably. And I suspect that made me wonder about Spelunky, because Spelunky is a game that you would never conceive of in its entirety in the era of the Nintendo.
Right.
But now that someone using modern technology, modern development, and the last 20 years of game design evolution, now that Spelunky exists, you could probably conceptually backport it to the NES.
Especially when you think
at the Game Maker one, especially.
Yeah, the Game Maker one is an interesting thing about the Game Maker. I've never personally enjoyed the Game Maker version of Spelunky for whatever reason. I know there are people who love it, and that's fine. I just have a hard time controlling it. But it's a really cool illustration of, Jake, the thing you're describing, because it's essentially the same game. You know, it's just it's demonstrating how little fidelity you need to create something of that complexity, which is, I guess, is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, I was thinking about it in terms of like the hypothetical scenario where you somehow have like a wormhole back through time where you can make one Spelunky cartridge for the NES now and send it back in time and just ruin all children. But that also, I mean, I don't have anywhere that I'm going with this, but it just
imagine what the landscape of video games would look like.
If Spelunky just back in 1989
instead of Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, fuck. Video games would be fucking weird now.
Yeah.
It's impossible to even think about what that would be like.
It was completely impossible.
I mean, it would mean something like Super Mario Brothers would be weird and interesting and different because it was designed specifically by hand. You know, it would be like that would be the anomaly out of games, which is fascinating.
Which actually was an anomaly about that game already at the time.
That's true.
You know, so like, if that
Not so much that it was designed, but that there was so much of it that was
Right.
designed.
Well, that it was linear, that it was like start and then go all the way to the end and then it ends, instead of like stage that repeats, or just like stuff like that.
But like things like Pitfall paved the way for Super Mario Brothers to a certain degree. Like Pitfall has set levels.
That's
Sure,
true. You're right,
yeah.
you're right.
But like, if that just suddenly was like, it's random, but not necessarily because it's cheaper to make it random, which is, I imagine, why like you would potentially do that on an Atari, but actually because it's a deliberate design decision and we're using it to do all these things. That was crazy. But just the thought of, or I like it when people take all of the knowledge that you have now and then apply it earlier, like in really practical shitty software examples. It's like when I worked in desktop publishing, doing graphic design, early web design, newspaper design. If I like the computer that I had at home was always like the hand me down of my mom's that she used to write her master's thesis, or that she used to grade papers. And it was still a Mac, so I could run Photoshop and I could run PageMaker, which I had pirated copies of.
PageMaker.
Excellent.
But I
was on Yearbook in high school.
In high school, I worked at a graphic design place, and in college, I worked in publication and did some video editing as part of my major and stuff. But it was always really cool to be able to be on newer equipment and be able to iterate my ideas so much more quickly. And then I would learn techniques on the faster computers that I could then go home and I could execute in one stroke and skip the fact that it was going to be 10 hours of having to learn to do the thing that only takes an hour on a really good computer. There was an example recently of some guy who did this amazing hack where he was playing full motion, full resolution video playback on an IBM 8088 or a PC AT.
Oh man, I think I saw this.
Where it was
a similar thing.
His first demo of it was just using ASCII text, but it was it was managing to refresh the screen at 30 frames a second, playing video through ASCII. And then this year he did an updated demo that plays full res in quotes for that computer.
The res that the computer is capable
the maximum res that this computer could display, the maximum frame rate that you need for broadcast video, and it looked pixely as fuck. It looked really weird. It looked like a fucking cyberpunk festival. But
nice.
There's no way that a person would be able to conceive of that being a possibility
at the time. Yes.
In part just because you could not even encode that video to play it back. To encode that video to play it back would take 500 of those computers. But now you can be just barf it out of your fucking media encoder that comes with your Creative Cloud subscription.
Yeah.
So it's easy to conceive of the idea and it's easy to test, but man, I don't even know where I'm going with this other than I think it's cool.
Well, that's the entirety of the demo scene is a less specific and extreme version of that, right? It's like taking hardware that people were using 20, 30 years ago and doing things on it that nobody could have conceived possible.
The place that I wanted to go with it, because I heard you talked about it for a minute last week and said you wanted to wait, but is that Wing Commander an X-Wing-esque flight simulator game?
Yeah.
Wings of Saint...
Nazaire.
Say Nazaire, yeah, because that's a game. It's closer to the Shovel Knight side of this, where it's
much closer. Yeah,
there's no point in backporting Wings of Saint Nazaire, but at the same time, it's got that same kind of idea where it's taking the ideas and core fundamentals of one of those of a low res sort of pixely, or in the case of X-Wing, wow, man, how do you pronounce the shading type that is earlier than Fong?
Gorong or something?
Yeah.
What is it? I forget.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Let me look.
The shitty flat shading that's it's one step above flat shading but isn't quite Fong shading.
Yeah.
But whatever. That super low poly, low res, sprite-based stuff. But they're executing on it in a way that you can only do with the 15 years of in-between foresight and evolution. And I think that's really interesting.
It's so much, their pipeline guaranteed is a million times easier than whatever.
But they're still
totally game.
They're executing from a philosophical and design philosophy that is rooted so far in the past, but they're able to do things that you would not be able to do. They're only really, it seems, doing aesthetic things that you would not be able to do so far.
Right.
But it's
and even that they're being deliberately conservative because, as you say, X-Wing was still 3D models with basic.
They're name dropping X-Wing and TIE Fighter, but structurally this is way closer to Wing Commander. Although I guess XCOM. X-Wing probably had the command ships and stuff.
Yeah, I was
probably
say,
low
they
poly
have capital ships that are bigger poly things in this game as well.
It is Gorard, yeah.
Gorard,
yeah.
Someone will tell us the actual exact way to pronounce
that.
Go Rad shading.
Get rad.
From Rad Game Tools. Granny 3D.
Rad.
Pink Video.
Big
Anyway,
Video.
I don't know. There was nowhere that I was going with any of that.
You haven't been on the podcast since we brought that up, though, right?
No, that was last week, and I haven't. Yeah,
but you played that, right?
I played it just enough to internalize the basic commands and not have it look like it was just a crazy hyper neon mess in my face that I couldn't understand.
Have you seen this, Danielle? We talked about it.
I've looked at a couple of quick, sort of let's plays in the time,
It's just an
cool.
alpha. Like it's called the Wings of Saint Nazaire. I think a lot of people found out about it because they just have posted GIFs of it looking rad.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like
it looks. Did we mention that last week? I forget. They've released a lot, especially in the last few months. Most to all of their screenshot releases have been as animated GIFs.
They're just GIFs of like a sick, pixelated looking Wing Commander-esque cockpit that's lit in like neon blue and orange and like
so good.
And just 14 explosions.
And then it's all these huge hyper colored explosions and like neon purple laser beams and missile trails flying around and then rocking the cockpit.
Missiles,
But then, unlike Wing Commander and X-Wing, it's able to just cause all these insane bloom effects and like in cockpit lighting effects going on. Like it looks like. I mean, it would be incorrect to say that it looks like what you would imagine Wing Commander could look like as a kid, because that is Star Citizen.
Right.
This is the Wing Commander game that I wish had been handed to me as a kid, so I could be like, holy fuck, okay, I had no idea what I should actually be thinking is cool, because you have now showed me what it is.
Right. Yeah.
Their alpha seems like it's just a proof of concept, though. Like you can,
although you
can shoot guys.
Yeah,
and you can.
There's a lot of stuff that's not in there.
You can shoot missiles at them.
You can shoot missiles at them, but you don't have to lock on. You don't have to lock on, which is a thing. All that I think I mentioned this last week probably, but as I was playing, all these things came back to me.
Right, we're like, let me transfer power. Oh, it doesn't matter. Power transference isn't supported even though the buttons are. Right. Let me get a lock. Oh, I don't need to get a lock.
I can just fire the missile, whatever. And I think all your weapons your missiles all have infinite ammo.
You can just shoot forever. It's just sort of a scene to let you get the feel. But you
tapping through the targeting with T,
I know,
and like cycling through and watching on your map. They actually have a cool map that is like the map is 3D in a way that I don't think it would have occurred to people to do.
Right, like it looks like because like modern sci-fi has introduced that concept way more. I feel like of like the sort of like the hollow map where like it's actually a sphere and stuff like that.
Right, it's rotating around as you rotate, like Ya or whatever. Whereas in those older games, it all looked like kind of 2D vacuum
radar
tube kind of radar style stuff, which is what it looks like in Star Wars, the movie, the original movie anyway. But this game, they're taking concept and knowledge that exists from now, but just putting it in the context of.
Yeah, it was weird just to play enough of it to get like my not as well honed as you by an order of magnitude like Wing Commander legs back though, of just like
sure. Well, you probably played more Wing Commander than I did.
Yeah, but you played more X-Wing than I played Wing Commander by probably dozens of hours. Like I never owned one of those. My friends had Wing Commander.
I ordered
too.
I had X-Wing, and then I got TIE Fighter by ordering it from a used game store that advertised in the back of PC Gamer magazine.
Oh, excellent.
This is what that world was like. I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but they could actually just list inventory in the
back of PC Gamer,
like an 8th page ad in the back pages of PC Gamer and Computer Gaming World, and they would just list stock. They'd be like, this month we got 3 copies of TIE Fighter and 2 copies of like Phantasmagoria or whatever, and like like copy of SimCity, and they would just list that in the magazine, and you had to
That's hurting the games industry, Chris.
I know, but at the time I didn't have.
I'm not serious. What? I wish that guy was still around.
Seriously, I miss the scarcity of those days. I really do miss sort of like not having 10,000 amazing games to choose from and being like obviously, excited about one game.
There are great things about the current system for sure. Yeah, it was crazy and amazing when you got one new game and it was just the most amazing thing. I almost never was able to buy games myself because I wasn't allowed to have video games, and so I had to do weird shit like either get games from friends or order stuff from the used game from the back of a catalog by like sending money in the mail, which is a thing that I did. Like just dollars.
Right. Here advertisement, here is my allowance, and then he's like, "Here you use TIE Fighter,"
and it cost $10. I'm pretty sure I remember.
Sweet, good deal.
I know, and I was so excited about it.
Man, so that's the kid that sold that guy a copy of TIE Fighter must have sold it to him for $5.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh man.
Or that TIE Fighter fell off a truck.
Somehow the money this guy made from that was enough to justify taking out an advertisement in a print magazine in an era when that was all there was.
Oh man.
PC Gamer ads must, like, if you weren't buying a full page, full color spread, it must have been cheap.
It must have been cheap because it was an 8th page possibly less than that, actually. Back of the thing with just bulk ads everywhere.
So in addition to sending a Spelunky cartridge back in time, we should also send a few dollars back for an ad in the back of PC Gamer saying Idle Thumbs Podcast. idlethumbs.computer. Did we talk about that yet?
Oh, no, we didn't. idlethumbs.computer.
That's it.
Where our podcast lives.
Yeah, that's our new domain name.
http://idlethumbs.computer.
We'll talk about that again, I guess, the next time Hover advertises our podcast.
How about that, Hover?
.computer.
Yeah.
That's so good.
But that's also the if you're going to advertise in the back of PC Gamer in the 90s, you better make it say idlethumbs.computer.
Also, I remember possibly the one time in my childhood that I went to a store and bought a new PC game, I guess pre-high school.
Yeah.
Until I was in high school, I think maybe the only time I ever got to do that was with Full Throttle. And I remember I had enough money. My brother and I combined our money, and we had enough to buy one game. And I can't remember what the other game we were choosing between. It was Full Throttle or something else, and I can't remember what the other one was. But we got Full Throttle. I know.
That's
and
awesome.
I was so excited to it was at CompUSA.
Oh my God.
That's where we bought it. We went to CompUSA because it was in Encinitas in San Diego, where we lived, and there was
in South California.
Yes, in South California, according to the recent
in the new state
ballot measure to split up California.
Yeah, right.
And I was so excited to go to the register and actually buy this full boxed game. And I was really excited about it because I'd played 2 other games with the person who made Full Throttle's name also on the box. Yeah.
So exciting. Those really were the best memories. I remember saving up for months to buy a single N64 game when I was 13 or 12 or 13, and it was just the greatest thing on earth to go to. This was Toys R Us. I wasn't even quite up to the CompUSA standards yet.
Well, that was Toys R Us. That was just where my mom needed to go to
she needed to buy something
or something. I don't, you know what I mean? It was whatever.
Yeah.
I really want to know the other game that you were going to buy. I hope that it was a split in the path of Chris Ramo, where that other game was
I think it was. I think it was something totally not.
It was that or System Shock.
Oh God. I'm sorry, wait, so what did you buy?
Or Phantasmagoria.
Oh, Super Mario 64.
It might have been Phantasmagoria. Oh, Super Mario 64.
I actually, when I got my N64 in March of 1997, I was 13 years old. This was a very exciting event in my life. I think it was a late birthday present. My birthday's in February, but our parents bought us the N64, later.
Of course.
Whatever they were saving up. I don't even remember why. We got Mario Kart. That was the only game we had for a long time, was Mario Kart 64, which was amazing, and I loved it. But I didn't buy Mario until later on.
That's
okay. I had to save up for it. And then there's some cool speed runs, some cool tips and tricks that people use to see some of that stuff.
God, I wasn't aware of the Mario 64 speedrun stuff until last year. It's amazing.
That and they're still finding really crazy new things with Ocarina of Time. There was a new thing yesterday, how to fire arrows without the bow. They're finding the craziest shit. Yeah, it's amazing. Watching this stuff is really
on
fascinating.
Modified console?
I believe it's a Japanese console, just the regular Japanese N64.
My cousin has a Japanese one, and he says you can fire arrows before you get the bow.
He says there's a hoverboard in it, and you're Link, and you're flying on a hoverboard. It's real.
My uncle's gonna get me one next time he goes.
It's always somebody's cousin.
Yeah.
Did you ever notice that? It was never my brother. It was never
because then the burden of proof is squarely on your shoulders.
True, yeah. But it was never even a friend.
If it's an extended family.
Yeah, my friend at my old school, his dad works for Nintendo.
In my old
Japan,
school.
Though. He goes to Japan.
He's in Japan.
School, yeah.
So good.
You guys want to take a break?
Sure. Well,
what?
I have this friend though, and his dad, he's from the place where I used to go to school. But his dad did say that in Mario 3, there's all sorts of cool suits.
Whoa!
Oh yeah,
you can wear a suit of Mouser from Mario 2.
What?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Is there a cat suit?
I don't know. That's real now. That's an idea that could have only been conceived now.
It's true. What would Cat Mario be? What would Cat Mario be in 1989?
What the gaming landscape would be like if Mario wore just a
imagine if
weird
Bad
furry
cat had taken
cat
off
suit
instead of Mario.
cat.
What an interesting
Wait,
world.
you said bad cat, and then Danielle laughed like Steve Gaynor.
Did I?
Yes.
I didn't realize I did this.
Yeah, it's fine. You don't usually.
Maybe
it's a good laugh.
Yeah.
We should take a break forever.
Take a break. Bye. Video game.
NatureBox is so cool.
NatureBox is delicious.
Oh man.
naturebox.com/thumbs.
Whoa, what do you find there?
Nature boxes.
What are nature boxes?
They are boxes of delicious snacks that are sent to you. They got all sorts of snacks in those nature boxes. Wasabi flavored peas and ranch flavored peas and really good sweet pineapple chews and stuff. We ate a bunch of them for a while, and we haven't recently because we ate the last one and then they haven't shown up for a minute. And then we realized that we liked them too much.
To get back on this NatureBox train.
But yeah, no, NatureBox is those things. Like if you want a thing that delivers you really delicious and interesting snacks that are generally not gross and are really...
Yeah.
Like those booger-flavored jelly beans. Delicious.
NatureBox doesn't do booger-flavored jelly beans.
They don't do like
you mean like the super, like, it was like sriracha-y cashew nuts or whatever those were?
They do stuff like that. But I mean, it's good. And like, they do a lot of stuff that's a lot more balanced. It's like kind of food style things that are delicious. Like the pineapple slices.
Yeah, dried fruit combinations or like dried sort of crunchy like nuts and peas snacks.
Stuff like that.
And
blueberry nom-noms kind of granola bar thing.
Yeah, they have like baked bar stuff. I don't know. It's good.
Yeah.
You eat them.
Naturebox.com/thumbs. 50% off first box. We love them.
You eat
Actually, them. NatureBox, please, can we get back on the
subscription? What is this? No.
They're good.
NatureBox, please give us food.
Maybe if you demand it in your Rhode Island.
I demand NatureBox. I want more nature in my box. I want to eat it. It's delicious. Thank you.
Yeah, naturebox.com/thumbs. Video game.
This episode is also brought to you by Idle Thumbs, the Idle Thumbs podcast and Idle Thumbs podcast network. Visit it at Idle Thumbs at http://idlethumbs.computer.
Somebody linked on Twitter. I think they tried to link you too, Chris, but Nick, myself, and you, but they left the O out of your name. An amazing array of erotic Sonic fan art.
Good thing they fucking left that O out.
Yep.
Oh, they sent it to Chris Rem.
They really did.
They meant to send it to your dreams.
They really did. Chris Rem. Chris Rem sleep.
Man, that got you? All right.
Oh, good.
Easy target Remo.
Easy target Rem.
Easy target Rem.
Is it a thing to have game dreams and talk about them? Because I had a really weird game dream.
Oh my god.
Okay. Danielle said the word dream and you lost your mind.
Okay, I don't know if this is good or not. So it's the thing that we're doing this now because we can just cut it out if it's not good.
No,
I had a dream last night that fucking freaked me out, and I never remember my dream. I know that I dream because I know everyone dreams technically, but like I never remember dreaming, so I feel like
I really rarely do as well.
Yeah,
I just sort of occasionally have like a nebulous emotional feeling, but I don't. Anyway.
This is like the first time in ages that I've done. Maybe I only did this because Nick wrote down the thing a couple weeks ago about Kilo.
Kilo is here
because that was just my favorite. I enjoyed that so much, and I woke up at like 4 a.m. this morning, and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta write this down. So this is what I wrote in my dream. Well, actually, it's no good reading what I wrote because it's just boring sentences. But like, I will turn that into the actual memory of this dream. So I was at someone's house playing cards, not like Magic or something, but like a card game, of Hearts or something. Yeah. I don't know what we were playing. That part that was fuzzy in my brain.
You were playing card game.
Yeah, and I was sitting on. Look, we were in someone's bedroom, and I don't remember who else was there, but I do know that the person or the thing on the bed next to me was like a decaying skeleton of my friend's aunt. So like his dead aunt, like, you know, parents' sister was like just in skeletal form with like decaying flesh and like a fucking full on skeleton, like just lying in the bed next to me, like just positioned there as we were playing cards. And then I farted. And I wanted to play it off as though I didn't fart.
It was a skeleton, please.
So I grabbed this like bony hand of this skeleton, which then suddenly had a sock puppet on it of like a little guy, and I threw my voice into the hand puppet on the skeleton hand to be like, ooh, I farted, I'm haunting all of you. And then I was like, did you hear that, guys? The reason they fart like that... Okay, I'm just going to read this. Did you hear that, guys? The reason they fart like that is because we won't know it's them, because they're skeletons and they think they can get away with it.
Such sound logic.
Yeah, I know, I don't know what that means. And then, like, later on, so we play the game, so, like, people, I guess, don't question this, and then we keep playing the game, and then the skeleton, like, suddenly, just, like, the whole, not the hand puppet, the entire skeleton, like, this dead skeleton lady, starts going like, hey, I need to talk to you. And, like...
No.
And I start screaming, and my friend is like, no, it's cool, she just wants to talk. And I'm, like, freaking out and trying to get away. And the skeleton is, like, restraining me, like, mentally. Like, the skeleton is, like,
using its brain to lock you into place.
To, like, keep me in place. And the skeleton just, like, now the skeleton starts screaming, it's cool, hey, it's totally cool. And then, like, pawing at me with its fucking gross, decaying arms. And then I can't, like, evade it anymore. And finally, the skeleton, like, she reaches out with her, like, bony hand, and it, like, envelops my face in, like, covers my face and eyes in blackness, and then everything goes black, and then I immediately woke up and was like, and immediately started writing it down.
The best part is the skeleton flailing and saying, it's cool.
It's cool, it's cool.
Did the skeleton have a woman's voice, or was it just, like, a voice?
It was just I have no memory of the character of the voice.
You just have the knowledge that the skeleton was saying, it's cool.
It's cool.
I definitely pictured, when you were talking about this being an aunt, I don't know why, but I pictured the skeleton wearing, like, old lady aunt clothes, like a purple hat. And
like a huge pearls, like a purse that matches the hat. Like, it's dressed like the queen.
Exactly.
I don't even know how I knew it was an aunt, because no one introduced me.
Right, that's one of those things where your brain it's in the lore. Like, that's just in dream lore. You're like, anyway, there's this aunt of my friend. Was it a specific friend?
No, I don't remember who it was.
Oh, okay, good.
I mean, if only it were Nick Brecken, right?
Oh, that'd be perfect. Wow. Yeah. I'm crying. I'm laughing so hard.
It was intense. The craziest thing to me was the ending where it was just like final hand reaching out, enveloping me in darkness, and then I instantly woke up in like a sweat.
Yeah, you woke up as like someone else in your house just covertly removed the Oculus Rift from your face, because that, like...
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It was weirdly specific for something I can read absolutely nothing into. Like, I don't know what
I really do think the sock puppet fart is really... That is a classy move right there.
The nebulous conspiracy.
The reason they fart like that is because we won't know it's them. Because they're skeletons, and they think they can get away with it.
That's the way that you have a conversation when you're half asleep, and someone's like, what do you think about that? And you're like... Well, they'll never find out about it, so, I mean, it seems fine to me. Like, excuse me? What? Sorry. That seems fine. Yeah, let's have spaghetti. Like, just, whatever, I'm not hungry.
You're real because the paper says it's Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yes. My classic touchstone for that is being at in high school, just my friends and I would just crash at a friend's garage overnight and play video games all night, and then make, like, camcorder claymation stop motion videos until we fell asleep. And I've said this on the podcast before, but I woke up in the middle of the night one time, according to all of them, just being like, guys, the numbers, it makes sense. The numbers, it makes sense. Guys, I figured it out, the numbers. Yeah, and this is just like a legendary thing among those friends, for me having zero memory of it and all of them having 100% memory of it because I was screaming.
Oh, that's
anyway,
so
that's
beautiful.
Why skeletons fart.
That's why skeletons fart.
That's why skeletons have hand puppets. That fart.
Yeah. Okay.
God, that's incredible.
Are we going to talk about Evo for a second?
We can definitely talk about Evo. Okay, no,
I don't mean to jump entirely out of Dreams to Evo.
Jump out of this.
I didn't watch Evo this year because I didn't know it was this weekend, because this weekend was the weekend of a bunch of cool stuff happening that I didn't know about. I watched the World Cup, which is cool, but again, I only knew that Evo was going on because everyone in my Twitter feed exploded talking about someone just kicking everyone's butt with a PlayStation 1 controller.
Yeah, that's the thing I saw too.
And I don't have any of the context for this. So what the fuck is that? Because whatever that is, I was like, I swore to myself, okay, everyone's going so insane over this, I will watch the replay. And here it is, the middle of the week, and I haven't watched it yet. So you just have to tell me what it is.
Well, I didn't watch that part. I read about it afterwards. I'm sorry. I know, useless video game journalist.
Why are we even on? What is the point of this podcast?
His name is Luffy.
Okay, good.
I know that much, and he absolutely did.
Which game was it that he was playing?
It was Street Fighter 2.
Okay,
I believe. Yeah, I'm almost positive. I saw a picture of him. He looked to be in his late 20s, early 30s. He looked.
I was hoping it was like some weird 12-year-old phenom with a controller as old as he is.
Where it's like, this is what has always felt natural.
Basically. Well, his name's
optimized.
Luffy. You know, it's optimized better.
The resistance is perfect. It's calibrated to my every need.
He won. I mean, it would be amazing if like somebody could win using like the Dreamcast fishing controller or something. That would be the greatest achievement in life. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine the Guitar Hero one would not be not that it would be easy by any means, but you could at least map the buttons somewhat.
It only has one directional axis though. Although I guess you only really have one with a fighting game.
Yeah.
Warning, I know nothing about fighting games. Please do not care what I say.
Neither do I. I watched Evo with a bunch of GaymerX friends. I just had people come over and we just watched. You have to be able to
crouch and stuff. So.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
You gotta make sure you can jump and crouch, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, like
I forgot that jumping is just up.
Yes, it's pretty easy. It's stiff though. I
Oh man. So what if the pick bar was like left and right, and then up and down was like star move like
oh my god,
or the whammy bar
up or down. Or the whammy bar.
The whammy bar. Yeah, that makes sense.
If the whammy bar is left and right, and then you jump and crouch with the pick, and then you do your sick combos with the...
Yeah, if you do your ultra move or whatever with the star power.
Yeah.
And then all the regular buttons are just the 4 fingers.
You could maybe program the star power to be like a clockwise or counterclockwise joystick rotation, depending on how you... Because then you'd like lurch the controller up into the air and then play a small solo and you'd do a Hadouken.
Yeah.
You would definitely need to dress up for this too. You would need to be like, you'd need to have like shitty shades and like, 80s rock star kind of thing. Like
someone should
crappy
do it. Someone
Kiss,
try this.
Maybe
please.
2 people on 2 DDR mats against one guy.
Oh man, yes.
One guy with a Guitar Hero controller.
Man, that guy can have a regular controller. That's too impaired. He can play against Luffy and his PlayStation 1 controller, which he's a Kutaraga's masterpiece.
I do know that he had some special, wonderful, potentially custom-made Xbox 360 to PS1 controller
like
input.
An adapter?
Yeah, he had an adapter. It was pretty crazy.
That's hardcore.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So what did you see that was cool?
Yeah.
I watched the Street Fighter 4 stuff, almost all of it, and almost exclusively just that. And I was there with people who could actually comment on it. I was listening to the commentary that was on Evo, or whatever, but there were actually people in my room that were like explaining to me these things because I haven't really played a fighting game since like Soul Calibur 2. Like it's been more than 10 years since I've actually really gotten into a fighting game. And it was never really like my thing. I've definitely played fighting games, gotten enjoyment out of them, and then, I think Mortal Kombat 2 was like my heyday when I was like 10. So, I don't know how we feel about Mortal Kombat in this room, but
it's fine.
I enjoyed it.
I
enjoyed it when I was 10. So, it was just fascinating to me. The weirdest thing, this is the strangest observation that I had watching it. But I've started boxing again like 9 months ago, and I've been doing it really seriously ever since. Yeah. And like what kind of struck me,
terror.
Yeah, exactly. Much to Sean's unhappiness. What really sort of struck me watching this was how much it's obviously incredibly exaggerated and wacky and wild, and there's fireballs and stuff like that happening, but the rhythms of fighting actually felt, watching this, I was like, actually, that kind of feels like what it feels like to be in the ring, to actually step forward a little bit, step back a little bit, and sort of like gauge the space between two fighters. And obviously, again, it's not the way it actually
it's
feels.
It's exaggerated and it's weird and it's arbitrary.
But the general cadence of it kind of matches up.
Exactly.
That's really
the flow
cool.
felt very similar, and I got very, very into it, just sort of for that reason. And it kind of maps to a weird way of like different kinds of punches, you know, like.
No, totally.
So.
That's really cool because that's the kind of thing that I think, you know, most people have some general intuitive assumption about.
Yeah.
But is not backed up by any personal meaningful experience. You know what I mean? Like I could look at a fighting game and be like, oh yeah, it's like, you know, dancing back and forth like boxers do. But like, doesn't mean anything when I say it. I have no credibility in assuming that or making that claim. That's a really cool thing to observe.
Yeah, I mean, it's a completely subjective thing, but it, you know, I dug that. And that's kind of what pulled me in for the whole time.
It's subjective with like a reference point.
Sure. Yeah. Felt just like boxing. Because I mean, especially those fireballs.
Yeah, I mean that's cool. I mean that is a thing that is the reason I think some games have the potential to be spectator sports and some don't, right? Like you need something that maps to. I mean, maybe this isn't true in like 100 years when everyone's just fucking living in computers or whatever. But like, you know, for
in
the most
100 years,
in like
in
500 years, what are you going for? Like 2 years?
5 years?
Yeah.
You know, I think it really helps.
When we're literally living inside of computers, when we are encased in them and powered them.
We're actually in a warlock's nightmare right now.
A sick Alienware case.
There's that too.
Yeah.
Oh, and when we're in a warlock's nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. Also, you know, when that happens as well, and the warlock's inside the computer, so we're all inside the computer.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all. Well, that in itself is inside a different warlock dreaming.
Right. And it's all warlocks all the way down.
Well, that warlock has just fallen asleep at a Street Fighter competition.
Oh, that's right.
That's why Street Fighter is starting to approximate real world, is because the
dream world and the second heightened dream world are melding.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell where the seams of one end.
Well, only Street Fighter has come in fully intact.
That's true.
From that warlock's dream.
How many levels of warlock do we go?
I don't know. We only need a couple, really.
Yeah. I guess that's true.
You're basically already super
the potency of Street Fighter
warlocks.
gets lost if you go to 3 warlocks.
Oh man, yeah.
No one's really pulled that off.
It's totally watered down.
Yeah.
It's like Mortal Kombat at that point.
It's like you get to Puzzle Fighter when you
Puzzle Fighter.
Man, Puzzle Fighter.
Yep. Puzzle Fighter.
But yeah, it is nice to be able to identify sort of parts of something more I don't know if elemental is the right word,
physical,
but like something less tied to like one specific brand and
sure.
Well, you can see the person inside of it being able to be expressive in a naturalistic seeming way.
Totally, yeah, that's good. That's a good way.
I mean, because like if you look at like Counter-Strike or Dota, that's also the case. You can watch and you can really clearly see the person inside of the game represented through their character's behavior, and it like your brain can imagine things.
Although I feel like it takes a lot more. With a lot of video games, it takes a lot more deep understanding than it does in like physical sports to perceive that deeply. You know, like even if you don't understand what's going on at like a tactical level in a real world sport, I feel like it's a little easier to perceive the expressiveness, which is one reason I am really excited that for the international, the Dota 2 competition this year, they're introducing a beginner stream.
Oh, it's wonderful.
They've been running it,
yeah, they have been running it. I haven't been watching it because it's still kind of in the preliminaries, and like I just haven't really
I'm planning on watching some of the actual stuff in the arena.
Once the actual arena stuff starts, I'm planning on watching with the newcomer stream.
Have you been listening to it?
I have, actually.
Oh, cool.
Again, during GaymerX, I had friends over who also were into it. It was almost like a little mini education for Danielle camps, like and different nights at GaymerX. People would come over and just explain stuff to me and show me, you know, sort of beginner things. So I did watch one of the beginner streams, and I know nothing about Dota, like really nothing. My girlfriend has become obsessed with it and plays it every day, and I couldn't tell you anything that's going on the screen. You know, as much as like I can obviously understand there's, you know, characters and avatars on the stream on the screen, and they're
and stuff,
they're trying to kill things. That's my understanding basically of Dota.
Did the beginner stream help fix that at all?
It did. It did quite a bit. You know, I mean, they're speaking of very basic strategy. They're speaking about very basic elements of the game, but it broke it down to a point where I could get what was going on.
Good.
So
it's good that they do that.
That was really helpful too. Yeah. And when you're speaking about, you know, this sort of got me thinking of speaking about sort of like the way that people can be expressive in a game, and you know, especially on that level, I've always been incredibly frustrated by I feel like maybe my just level of skill with a controller in my hand or with a keyboard and mouse at my disposal, I just never feel quite as expressive in a game as I would in real life. I feel like I'm a much better boxer in real life than I would ever be able to play a fighting game. I would be able to do more damage, and I can shoot a gun more with better aim than I could ever do in a shooter. Like things like that. And I'm always...
That's what I feel about driving a car in real life versus driving a car in a video game.
Yeah.
Even driving slowly in a video game, I never feel...
quite in control. Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't think that's the case for some people. I mean, I think for some people, the appeal of gaming is that it's an opportunity for you as a non-graceful, non-adept person to have inputs go from your brain to your extremities and then be fed back into your eyes and see that you're producing graceful, expressive motions.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, absolutely.
If you're a person who does not dance ever, playing a game that is just full of crazy, graceful, acrobatic moments that you have agency over, I think is a huge part of the appeal of them.
For sure.
Whereas, like, you actually box people and do physical activities. Like, you know, like, I don't know, like, I'm not a person who's physically adept really at all. So games that are about, like...
physical movement.
Like, just very... very adeptly traversing space, but there's still some brain required. Like, I don't have to just press up. I love those games because of the, like, questionably, like, vicarious thrill that I get out of the fact that I can have those experiences without having to actually learn how to jump off a building or kick someone or throw something.
I think that's great. I guess I'm just expressing frustration that I'm, like, so-called capable of doing a harder thing, but I'm never capable of, like, quite getting there in terms of gaming skill.
I'm also not capable of doing that in a game, so I'm just a worthless person. But it's watching people who are incredible at it is weird.
And
it's cool.
Awesome. It's really, really amazing. I'm always just very jealous. Like, I just cannot make my hands do that. Like, I can make my feet do that. I can make my fists do that. I cannot make my fingers do anything like that.
I'm one of those people who I feel like has some facility for that, but enough to know I could never... Like,
right, but, I mean, but at the same time, if you did a live stream of Flappy Bird that also just had your hands playing it, people would lose their mind.
They would, yeah.
It's gross. You should do that, Chris.
I think I missed the zeitgeist on that one.
Oh,
wait 5 years.
Create a new zeitgeist.
I did not erase Flappy Bird.
I didn't miss it personally. I was fully.
Right.
Surrounded, but I didn't ever broadcast.
Basically play Flappy Bird every day for 5 years and then use whatever the future of Twitch is to be like, look at this. Still have Flappy Bird installed. I don't know what you've been doing. And then just 24-hour Flappy Bird, like, pledge-a-thon.
Yeah. Oh, God. Jesus. Oof. Gross.
For every flap, you will give $1.
Oh, my God.
Or every pipe or whatever.
It's a new version of Marathon. Or marathoning, not marathon, the game.
Bungie's coming back. Marathon 3, Flappy Bird.
Flappy Bird.
Marathon Flap.
Marathon 3, probably 4, actually.
I guess
Flappy
4,
edition?
Marathon Infinity, or what was the third one? Yeah.
Flappy Bird Pledge-a-thon.
Bungie would be a company that would weirdly make an oddly detailed joke about that could appear real.
And then sell a
That's
t-shirt.
a thing Bungie of all companies would weirdly do.
Epic actually basically just did that, didn't they? Oh, they did. They did the
Flappy
weird
Bird
thing of it, where it was the, like, their mobile Unreal Engine, where the demo of it was like 2 super epic game bros, basically. Like, it seemed like they were either wearing Space Marine suits or like 15-layer Alan Wake costumes, or some combination of those, like, hanging out in a really well rendered damp alley. And then an arcade machine turned on and played Flappy Bird. Because you can also use Unreal to make Flappy Bird.
Yeah, they're really going for the Unity crowd there, I guess.
Yeah, they are.
Good for them.
I feel like we really missed a beat never talking about Alan Wake's costume when that was a thing that was worth talking about.
I never noticed it because I didn't play that game. I didn't notice it until you guys kept pointing it out 2 weeks ago.
There's nothing to talk about still, but, like...
There's something to point out about it.
Okay, like, Alan Wake, it's you know how, like, you go to a company mixer or like a charity event, and there's, like, the little jar that has a bunch of jelly beans in it, and everyone writes down how many jelly beans are inside of it. I think you could basically just put a picture of Alan Wake inside of that jar and say how many layers of clothing is he wearing. The person who actually gets it right gets to take home this Alan Wake printout, I guess. But like,
I won one of those once.
You won an Alan Wake printout?
Did. And it was not even that, like, no, not Alan Wake. I won one of those jelly bean counting contests at a jockey store in New Hampshire.
Wow.
Good.
Yep. When I was about 13 or 14. I don't know.
You still have those beans?
No, but I got like a $10 gift card to buy like
You didn't get the beans?
Underwear. I did, but they were probably stale. They were sitting there for like 2 months.
Wait, so did you get it exactly or what?
No, but I was very close. I was the closest.
Oh, so it was
everybody in the world.
For 2 months they accepted guesses and your guess was the closest. Do you remember what the number was?
I don't remember what the number was.
God damn it.
I'm sorry. It was
I would bet that Alan Wake
somewhere
is
in
wearing
the 800s, I think.
7 layers of clothing though.
7 layers of clothing?
I mean,
he's wearing a
because he's got like outdoor jacket, blazer,
hoodie,
oh god,
shirt presumably.
But I think he's got like a collar popping out and then a t-shirt and then
oh my god.
But I think like he's got so many layers, which is maybe that's only like 5. But I bet he's got an undershirt under there.
Yeah, surely.
I bet he's got a fucking shitload of layers.
I mean, is he in like a? I know he's from like the Northwest, but
he was raised by art directors.
Yeah, but you know what's funny about that is that it looks like garbage. I mean, it's just like that ensemble is nonsense. I never noticed it before because for some reason that game just passed me by, and I never looked closely.
Well, I think you just don't notice it until you notice it. I mean, if he just looks like he's just aesthetically busy, then you're like, what is that?
What is he wearing?
The hoodie under the hoodie under the blazer. It's just under the leather jacket.
Oh
I mean,
God.
like it was fucking unreal. And then, did he have all 3 of those, or was that just Jay Allard?
Oh my god,
I don't remember.
Because the thing that got us on the topic of this,
Alan Wake has at least like the sports coat and the jacket and the hoodie and the shirt and the other shirt. But like Jay Allard
just has the hoodie, and then over it a blazer.
I feel like there's another layer.
Well, there's another one under the hoodie.
oh my god.
I feel like
Did he also wear
I feel like
an
there's another
outerwear-
in between.
outer
I feel like there was like
jacket?
a sports coat and a jacket and a hoodie or something.
Oh, that may be the case. But in any case, the part that is like most noticeable is a blazer with a hoodie popping over the back of it, and it is fucking hideous.
But and then he's got like one neon orange highlight in that
And there's
that matches his shoes.
Yeah, he's wearing these bright orange shoes, and he's like just
so good,
rapping with you, like sitting at the Xbox 360 unveiling, just in the middle in a stage surrounded by the audience on all sides, and he's like just kind of sitting there with his knee up, and it's and we were searching Google Images for Jay Allard. And
that made Ollie point out that he was dressed like Alan Wake. Right. So we loaded up the Alan Wake image, but then we noticed the file name on the other Jay Allard image was just Jay Allard.
There was a file name on a picture of Alan Wake, and the file name was like Alan Wake sporting the Allard.
Yeah, like Alan Wake rocks the Allard.
Yeah, Alan Wake rocks the Allard. Yeah, that was an incredible like point A to B that I never connected before.
Yeah,
because that game was an Xbox 360 showcase game.
Yeah,
or was it meant to be anyway at one point? And yes, that is Allard's, I guess, final legacy at Microsoft.
Looking like
his
Alan
Wake. Fashion sense.
Yeah.
Apparently, Alan Wake dresses smart casual, preferring a tweed jacket with leather patches on the elbows, layered over a generic hoodie with standard fit jeans and loafers. In the promo material, Alan is seen wearing a scarf, but it is never seen in-game. In terms of grooming, Alan seems to permanently have stubble and an unfussy, unstyled haircut, reflecting his relatively uncaring attitude towards his life since he finished his last novel, The Sudden Stop, and became afflicted with writer's block.
Whose perspective are you reading
This
from?
is the Giant Bomb, wiki.
Oh my God.
This is incredible. It goes on and on and on about the belt buckle.
I've loaded an image of Alan Wake that we must discuss. Because what he is wearing, he's wearing... Okay, he doesn't have as many layers as we remembered. Yes, he does. Okay, I'm happy again. I was sad that Okay, so he's got at least a sports coat and then a jacket underneath that looks like a puffy vest jacket.
Oh, right.
Oh, my God.
And then under that, he's got a zipped up hoodie.
Oh, my
and
God.
Then under that, he has a shirt. So he only has 4 visible layers plus his pants. But he's got good cuff placement, too. Like, because he's got the sport coat, but then obviously the cuffs of his hoodie are popping out from underneath that. So he's got like 2 or 3 layers at the wrist area.
Gross.
And the pants are standard fit jeans. They're not skinny jeans. They're not baggy jeans.
How
They're
do they
standard
know this?
fit jeans. Somebody knows this. Somebody on the internet knows this.
I don't even know basically what the difference of those is in real life, and I wear jeans. And I still don't know what it means when you go to the store and they have like 800 different jeans.
I mean, I only know the difference between like skinny, normal, and,
I know, like,
baggy.
Obviously skinny jeans and obviously baggy jeans.
He was worried that he'd have to be out there for a while.
What about boot cut?
Oh, so he's wearing smart casual.
Yeah, he's wearing smart casual with his patches.
So he's just wearing 3 pairs of clothes.
He's wearing every...
He knew he was going to be out there for a while, but he knew he had to carry that flashlight, so he couldn't carry a bag.
Right. So he had to make sure that he put on his sport coat in case something fancy happened, then his North Face vest in case it was cold, then his hoodie in case it was also cold and or he wanted to look like Mark Zuckerberg. And then his shirt. He must
be like sweating bullets the entire time he's doing anything ever. Just walking around in this outfit. Mm-hmm. He must be a sweaty man, basically.
Yeah, he is.
But he's got all those layers, so you don't ever notice it.
Yeah, it's true.
It can't soak through.
Man, he must smell gross.
Oh my god, I
bet.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
When Alan Wake finally peels all that off at the end of his weird, surreal, lost dream.
Well, it's like that thing where he gets so gross that he need to bathe because all the shitty shit just crusts.
It's already,
and he just molts.
Yeah,
you just got to cut through the clothes. You just cut a slit through all the clothes at once, and then you peel
as if he's in like an auto accident.
Yeah, you peel off his gross cocoon of filth,
and then he's reborn as an angel. And then Jay Allard is underneath that.
Oh my god!
You peel it, encrusts his hair, and all of that is peeled off.
That also comes off.
Oh my god!
No.
To reveal bulb.
The Allard underneath.
Yeah, the Allard in all of us.
The Allard within.
The Allard within. You reveal Allard awake because Allard awakens.
Oh my god!
Oh, no.
He's in the hospital. He's being peeled off, and you hear the little heart rate thing goes boop 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 boop. Wow! And then Allard wakes up. Anyway, what are we doing?
I don't know.
Wow.
We're talking about Jay Allard, so I'm fine with it.
Allardisms.
Man, how do we get Jay Allard on the podcast?
First step is to finally send him that LinkedIn request.
Oh my god, I have to.
Did you find him on LinkedIn?
He's easy to find.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, he is, but he's not. He doesn't have a lot of social media presence, which is strange for Jay.
Yeah.
But he's definitely where professionals go to meet.
I see. That's
good.
Where
they go to LinkedIn.
Yeah. That's the exact profile I'd expect someone like that to have, though. Yeah. LinkedIn profile, but no Twitter or public Facebook. Exactly what I'd expect.
He's got to keep it all close to the chest.
That said, if you know Jay Allard or his personal assistant and listen to this podcast, questions@idlethumbs.net, please. Or, you could send us a nature box. I guess.
Also accepting nature box.
Yeah.
Nature box.
You guys want to do some reader mail?
Yes.
Sure.
Oh, speaking of contacting us in regards to Jay Allard, if you have any other questions that you'd like to send in, write them to questions@idlethumbs.net.
Yes.
If you have any Jay Allard hookups, send those to jake@idlethumbs.net.
All right. Alexander Willie, I think I pronounced this person's name incorrectly last week also. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Writes, Dear Idle Thumbs, I started listening to the podcast recently. One of the first episodes I heard while catching up featured the wonderful Danielle discussing a review she wrote for Dragon Crown. Oh. In her review, she dinged the game for, among other things, its fairly icky and adolescent portrayal of women. Skimming the comments, I was struck by the number of people who considered things like art style or portrayal of these characters irrelevant to the business of criticism. Basically, they claimed she wasn't being objective enough. Leaving aside the substance of Danielle's review, although I think she's probably right on, what do you think accounts for the belief that a game review should be completely objective, as though any response to a creative work could be? Is it just a problem of not being exposed to enough criticism? Is it a side effect of assigning numerical scores? Growing pains? Historical trajectory of game development? A facet of enthusiast culture on the web? Would love to know what you think. Wishing you the best, Alex in St. Louis.
Yeah, thank you for the kind words.
Yeah, I wanted to read that when you were on the air. So then he's got a PS here. The kind of comment I was struck by is this. The art style of Dragon's Crown is objectively well done. It clearly shows skill, planning, and cohesion. It really comes down to how much you think personal bias should affect a review. This was a comment.
The art being well rendered and made by a person with skill has nothing to do with their creative choices. Like, absolutely. I feel like you can't get excited about games as a creative medium and as an art form and then immediately disregard the meaning of any creative choice made inside of a work. Like, then
absolutely.
you're just insane. Like, there's nothing. I feel like the conversation just begins and ends right there, right? I don't know.
Basically. Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. And it also, I do think it has to do with just sort of the games journalism. As in the past, it was more of a product review than it was a, artistic critique. It was always sort of like, does this have a score for fun? Does this piece of software work, first of all? And then, is it fun? Is it like this? Is it like that? That's sort of the history of game reviews.
The thing about that, though, is that even then, it just comes down to what you as a reader agree or don't agree with. Because, like, Consumer Reports,
right?
Their job is to tell you if a thing is good or bad. But, like, when they were saying that iPhones should not be bought because of the antenna issue or because of software lock-in, every person who is, like, an Apple fan online was like, "Oh, Consumer Reports biased," blah. Like, just because they're saying a thing you don't like. Like, I don't know. It just, I feel like there's no way you win. Like, it's just
for sure.
Like, a human being writes this, and human beings have their own subjective opinions about things. They might try their best, if it's the publication's rules, to write towards the goals of the publication, but then there's the subjectivity of the definition of the publication or of their perception of what their audience is. Like, there's always going to be a slant. And it's just if you don't like that one, you're just going to be a butthole about it. Like, sorry, I don't know why I'm Andy Rooney in this conversation.
You're completely right.
True though. I mean, I think a thing people often do when they encounter an opinion that they just personally don't agree with is try to undermine the credibility of it without addressing the actual substance of it.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what goes on here is, like, you say you're not being objective enough, but what you really mean is you're not being subjective enough in the way that I like.
Yeah, you're not agreeing with me. Your opinion differs from mine.
Yeah.
And there's a long history of, like, women having an opinion on the internet and sort of like there's some of this that goes into sort of the idea of, like, silencing women or silencing someone who doesn't agree with you. And, there's some gross stuff in there as well. I mean, obviously some people had, like, reasoned criticism to my criticism. Yeah. And there were also people who just wanted to call me names on the internet. So
yeah, no, for sure.
That kind of plays into it a little bit.
It's totally possible to reasonably disagree with someone.
Of course, always.
I mean, especially about, like, a work of art, right? Like, about something that is, by its nature, just a result of creative choices. As opposed to, like, I don't know. I mean, I guess, I don't know. There are probably some things that disagreeing with makes you kind of a jerk, but a video game review should be something people are able to.
Just let go. But the thing is that you can't, because for a lot of people, it gets tied up in, like, religious zeal about.
No, it's true.
Like, for sure.
Like, identity politics, things like that.
And, like, this, I like it. I'm basically not weird, because I personally have been like this as well, where I like something, I want to be an evangelist for it.
Right.
I want it to be well regarded because it's a thing that I like and want to see more of in the world. Therefore, I see a major media outlet reviewing it poorly as an attack on its potential to succeed in the world.
Yeah, and therefore, by extension on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. For sure. Like, yeah, but you have to, as an adult human being living in the world, you have to strive to overcome that impulse, because you're just going to be an angry, bitter person.
Yeah, that's not how the world works. But I remember, like, when I sort of was first getting into internet gaming communities, I was really big into the adventure gaming community, and there was just the huge prevailing feeling was always, anytime anyone slagged off an adventure game in a review, it was like, this outlet hates adventure games.
They hate it.
They're just idiots, dumb fucking console jockeys, don't like games for smart, educated people like me, for erudite gamers. Like, fuck you! That person just didn't like it.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why Idle Thumbs exists.
Yeah.
Was to get out of that community.
It existed effectively to try and say, maybe games are interesting as games, and we should try to just look at what they are.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Amen.
But we were still then just mad about things that weren't shitty art games.
Oh, yeah. The Idle Thumbs...
we just
Idle
moved
Thumbs,
into another...
The first, like, 04 to 06 of Idle Thumbs definitely had a weird, like...
Yeah, I think it still had a broader range, but it was effectively like, I hate it here. And then we all packed up and moved, and then the camera zoomed out to us moving into basically the same house next door, but maybe it had a couple extra rooms and, like, a sunroof.
Exactly, yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are all entitled to their opinions.
Honestly...
That's true.
Yeah, it's true that you're entitled to your opinions, but I think also...
Well,
it is
that
incumbent...
phrase... you have to take that for what it literally means, or you will misuse it.
Yes.
Right.
Everyone is entitled to their opinion.
Right.
Exactly.
Actually everyone, not just you.
Okay, well, here's the thing.
Every human.
This is a broader, I guess, claim to make than just what we're talking about specifically. But I think you simultaneously have to accept that everybody is entitled to their opinions equally. But you also, I think, if you want to be like the best person you can be, you also need to make it incumbent upon yourself to not just retreat into the like everyone has their opinion bunker. You know, you like that's a good baseline, but then on top of that you need to also open up to the possibility of like expanding your own kind of breadth.
Hopefully there's some respect for the fact that you have your own opinions and beliefs, which are like acknowledging that your opinions are also opinions.
Yeah,
and then being able to take that belief and put it on someone else and be like, the things that I'm feeling inside of my brain are unique to me. Therefore, another human being has feelings that are unique to them, and we are peers in this. It is not that they are idiots because what's in my brain is canon.
Exactly.
Like, that's like, I don't know.
The ability to have a respectful discussion about things without, you know.
The huge boobs were really well drawn.
They were. It was actually a really beautiful game.
The coloring.
And I have no problem. Like, the funny thing about this review, if I can talk about it for 1 second, was like, I actually thought the art was very beautiful. And I thought the sort of playable characters were a little gross. Like, they definitely have boobs bigger than their heads. Like, that's what it was. But I don't have so much of an issue with that. And I didn't in that review as I did with, like, the women that were displayed as, like, just sex objects that were, like, legs splayed open, like dying, like, like you could touch them in a sexual way and they would moan. And that was what was gross to me, not the like female playable characters that were exaggerated.
Sure. No, I get what you mean. Yeah, for sure.
There was that. Anyway.
But anyway, they were very well drawn.
They were beautifully drawn boobs.
Women.
So I feel because of that.
What?
I don't know. I feel like maybe its overall review score should be higher and did not acknowledge the content. I mean, look, if you were to just break it down into the gameplay, the rendering, like technical aesthetics of the graphics, the fidelity of the sound effects, and the fun factor.
And the fun factor.
And the tilt.
And the X factor.
Fun factor and tilt.
Take those out, actually. Take those out because then those might lower the score. Just talk about... Don't talk about your experience playing the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Just talk
about... Don't tell me about the things I don't want to hear. Just tell me the things I want to hear.
Yeah, I don't know. There are so many places to read game reviews now that all that I actually want is for game reviewers to explain to me their experience playing the game, because I feel as someone who's interested in a game, I can then go in aggregate and find 15 people's experience with the game, and I effectively then can use all of the reviews as a focus test of this game that I haven't played. Mm-hmm. It's so much nicer than if people just say what's in the game and don't say anything else. But also I can just go to objectivegamereviews.com or whatever it is for that and read exactly what's in the game.
Yeah.
I think that person who runs that is an idol.
Who's to say if he is?
Yeah, nice.
We
don't say these things. Yeah. We don't say these things.
That site actually is really... This is terrible because it accidentally... Have you actually read any of those reviews in depth? Like, they're very tongue-in-cheek, but at the same time... You learn exactly what is in the game and how the game plays. There is a surprising value in a purely objective game review. It's just not...
It's not what it seems on face value, yeah.
But,
or what people say they want.
I mean, the thing about it that's weird is that I think that it is, but it's not. Like, it's...
Right, yeah.
Because it's the thing that people ask for, but it's not the thing that anyone actually wants to read in a review. What they want to read in a review of the Dragon's Crown?
Dragon's Crown, yes.
What they want to hear is, this is an amazing game, and anyone who likes it is amazing. Whereas the objective game reviews review of that would just be like, the player can select from 15 characters, and they can execute this style of moves, which can combine with these moves to produce this effect.
Exactly.
It contains this style of graphics. It is released by this company. 7.
Right, exactly.
But all that information is really nice because... Like, I find it legitimately valuable because the only place you usually get that sort of writing about these games is in previews. But in previews, it's almost always written with the mandatory, optimistic, maybe they'll pull this together and it's going to be great slant. Yeah. Where, I kind of just want to hear what the game is. Like, I just want someone to tell me what what you do in it a couple times and then tell me what happened.
Objective game previews, subjective game reviews, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't actually do previews at Polygon because of that.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah, it is.
I hated doing them.
Not that we don't play games, obviously, before they come out, but like we don't do like a preview. You know,
it's just you guys just do news and then you review a game.
Yeah.
Like
and features.
Yeah.
Too. But yeah.
Because a preview, I don't understand the point.
It's got so much baggage with it at this point. I like that sometimes Rock Paper Shotgun will just write very free-form impressions of a game they've played ahead of time. Like, they don't conform to the preview kind of accepted format at all. They'll just have just some thoughts about it, which often takes like a very particular angle or something. That kind of thing's fine.
Yep. Depending on the kind of game it is. But in general, previews as a practice, I think, are kind of pointless.
Yeah, they're very difficult to get the tone right, I feel like. In such a way that would actually be useful to somebody reading the preview.
Yeah, genuinely
useful. Yeah.
Cool. God, I was trying to find this story that this person wrote on the forums about their child or niece maybe playing Spelunky. I can't find it.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
I just can't find where it was. I wanted them to write it into questions@allthumbs.net, but they didn't. So whatever. If you're listening, please send that into questions@allthumbs.net because I can't find it now. Let's see if I have something else I can read in the regular email.
I had a game dream.
Oh, did you?
In between, while you're looking for something. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you just had one just now in between.
Oh no, I actually had a real one. I had a real dream where I was playing Alien Isolation, and it was set somehow in an office building, but there were xenomorphs chasing after me, and it was really horrifying and terrifying. And then all of a sudden, I realized that the AI for the aliens were actually controlled by these like sort of bookish librarian looking women. And like I was less scared, even though they still looked like xenomorphs. I knew that they were now being controlled by these very nice women. And so I was like, I really want to just kind of hang out here in the middle of the room and check out the environmental storytelling. This is the thing I said to like,
oh my God,
the
gross.
AI. And I was like, I really want to read these files. I want to read these files. Let me read the files. And they were like, no, you have to go back to your checkpoint. Like they were reasoning with me. They were like, you need to go back to the last checkpoint because like, this is how the game works. Like we were having this weird meta conversation while I was in this insane, strange world.
You were talking to the NPCs.
I really was.
They were trying to convince you to go back.
But they were like real people.
Please play
the way I played this game was like they were actually real people in real life, and they were like controlling it somehow.
Oh, the
on the other end,
were the ones telling you to go back.
The librarians were like
calling over from death. Please.
But they were talking through the xenomorphs like mouths.
It was really weird. Was this the kind of dream where you remember the voices? Or they're like,
sort of.
Stop playing the game. Or was it just like a mouth, sort of, just the presence of the mouth?
The presence of the mouth was there.
Then just had a voice saying, could you please...
Like, no, you really have to go back.
Like, not, the lips were not moving, but just sort of the mouth was there, and your brain's like, okay, the voice is coming out of the mouth.
I knew, like, I pictured the librarian, the woman who was a librarian. I don't know what, they were like, kind of like sexy librarians.
So
I don't know.
Your eyes looked at the mouth of the xenomorph, but the xenomorph's brain was projecting librarian's image into your brain, which basically, your brain was then thinking that is coming from the mouth of this creature, even though it was a fucking abstract thought.
It was exactly like that, and I just stopped being scared, and I just tried to reason with them. I was just like, no, come on, I want to read this file. There's all this interesting stuff about all these people that died here.
I'd like to read this lore.
It really was that. It was really dorky. It was fun, though. And I was controlling myself the way I would control a character in a game. Like, I was running around. Like, I felt like I was using my hand to, like, move myself.
Oh, man.
It was bizarre.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That kind of dream experience is always impossible to describe, where you're not actually imagining yourself sitting on a couch with a controller.
I love dreams that have the art of...
you have the, like, emotional sensation of doing that.
Yeah, you have the feeling of like
dreams
controlling myself.
Dreams that exist inside of the abstract constructions of an entertainment medium, of like any other medium, are the best and weirdest. Where you have dreams that you are controlling yourself like a game, or you have a dream that is shot from a third person thing like using cinematic language, where your dream just has like a slow movie, your dream has a crane shot at it. You're like, why is this? How is this? Why is my brain? Why?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
It's fascinating.
Yeah. Dreams. Yeah. It's weird that your brain has all these tools to construct these things, and it makes me wonder what, like,
primitive dreams.
Like, what dreams are constructed like when the tools of your culture are completely like if you were in Shakespearean times, would you actually have dreams that then exist as theatrical constructs?
In couplets,
where people are like, where people are just like prancing and have like theatrical, shitty theatrical humor? Like, not actually.
Or if you just like grow up in like feudal Japan and everything is like no drama.
No,
and
like, oh my god,
kabuki theater.
Do you get dreams that, because your brain is so fluent in processing narrative in those mediums, like, is that how your brain perceives things? I feel bad for saying shitty theater here, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, what if you dream in opera?
Yeah.
I thought it's so fascinating. Well, I remember reading something
way tougher, but maybe.
I know. But this is the thing, though. It wouldn't have
your brain would just say it was an opera, but your brain wouldn't actually have to compose it.
Fully produced opera. It would just be people would sing nonsense with stupid melodies, or maybe just a melody you heard that your brain rips off.
Right. Or your brain just tells you that a melody is being played,
exactly, without
but it doesn't have to
generating
compose
the content.
music.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, that's so fascinating. I mean, I remember reading something about, people with deaf people or blind people, and the way they dream is definitely like in weird synesthesia. Not weird, like I don't want to make it sound like this is a negative thing, but like in different kinds of synesthesia than like, or synesthesia, whatever, my accent, than sort of like the way a person with all their senses would dream. Like it's, God, just the way your brain creates emotional context for every weird, bizarre impulse, and then you have this insane story when you wake up. Like, it's
interesting that you can have like first person and third person video games, or games that at least have those like sensory input outputs firing at the same time. Like that just was not a brain didn't have that before. Yeah. But you could backport that dream to a Shakespearean and blow their mind. Dreams.
It's incredible.
And tying it all together.
Inception 2. This time it's about video game dreams.
And there's a warlock who dreamt it all.
Oh, it's actually all the dreams. What is that? We now know what that warlock dreams about.
Oh my god.
He dreams about a skeleton. It's cool.
And then the warlock says, "That's why skeletons fart that way."
Cut to black. God, now I'm just imagining a like craggy warlock face filling the entire screen in like a multiplex.
God, but it's not actually a multiplex.
Is why skeletons fart that way.
It's not actually in a multiplex. It's someone dreaming with the boundaries of like a Panavision frame and a skeleton filling up that inside of their mind.
Exactly.
Like, okay.
Oh my god.
God, gross.
It's pretty gross. True.
To keep talking about this for some fucked reason, this will all just loop back in on itself and become self-defeating when everyone lives inside of an Oculus Rift, because then your dreams will just be the same.
How will you even know when you fell asleep?
Whoa.
It'll just imagine the same shit that's happening as you walk around your house.
God, imagine someone is saying that in the style of the
Morpheus
of the Richard Linklater, A Scanner Darkly, like Keanu Reeves. Like, how will people even know when they're asleep or awake? Like shitty vector. Like yeah.
Oh wow.
If you could combine like Google Glass and Oculus Rift. And just have the whole world rendered in like like a pseudo real-time processing effect that could just, as you fall asleep, it would just transition into beaming a dream version of that into your brain.
When you fall asleep, it just beams in a dream version. If you could just combine.
Oh my god.
So you fall asleep, and then a dream version of you is beamed into your brain in Linklater-style rotoscoping?
Yeah, but that also, when you're awake, that's how you perceive the world, because you walk around wearing your Oculus Rift, and it's just applying like really advanced filters and shaders. So you fall
asleep, and then you would just see a third-person view of yourself asleep, but rotoscoped? I don't understand.
No, I'm saying, okay.
So I'm sorry, I was too busy making fun of you to hear what you were saying.
All right, so here, let me start this very important concept over here.
This episode ending concept.
Yes. So you're walking around awake, presumably, in the world wearing...
Or so you believe.
In the real world. In
the real world
space.
inside the warlock dream. You're wearing this just in the regular real world, which
you're walking around with an Oculus Rift on your face because everyone does that.
Because everyone does this now. And as you walk around, what you see in the Oculus
Rift. So it's like doing an augmented reality, but it's putting the rotoscoping on it.
The like waking life rotoscoping.
Everyone voted and decided A Scanner Darkly was the best depiction of this. So that's just how the world is rendered in this world.
Exactly. So just we live in that world because that's how we see through our Oculus Rift.
Right.
But then when you fall asleep, it knows that you're asleep now, and it just starts beaming a continuation of that into your head.
It's just extrapolating your life out plus some dream logic weird stuff.
Exactly.
It's basically just playing a Blu-ray of A Scanner Darkly.
To your brain, what happens is you just have your regular day, and then you lie down in your bed, but then you never fall asleep, just like your walls fall down or something. And
oh my God, this is terrible.
For the next like 8 hours, just crazy shit happens, and then you wake up, and all that happens is the world repackages itself, and then you just stand up.
But the thing is, it wouldn't have to. The fish floating through your dream could still just be seen by you when you're awake.
That's true. Maybe that stuff would wear off over like 3 hours.
And then you're getting tired because it starts they become like sleep signifiers to you.
Right,
so like,
exactly.
It's time to
this is my sleep token, or some bullshit phrase. Like an Inception.
No one would actually get any rest because their brain would just be fucking fed all the time.
That's true.
And then we would all die from lack of REM sleep.
Then you would start having hallucinations.
No, you'd be in REM sleep, I guess.
It would be like the Next Generation episode where nobody gets REM sleep, so they start seeing like night terrors. The name of it is Phantasms, and I think it's in the 4th season or 5th season.
Wow.
Yep.
Good. So that one's probably got the HD treatment at this point.
Yep, probably.
But, like, if you were unable to tell when you were asleep or awake, you would start hallucinating, which wouldn't be inside the headset, but
you wouldn't be able to distinguish it from...
But then the headset would pick it up and incorporate it.
Right, exactly. It would be aware of your hallucinations and would start designing narratives around them.
Yeah.
That are part of the
At a
design
certain point,
experience.
you take off the headset, but you actually don't. You just take off the headset inside of the headset using the hands that you no longer have.
Yeah.
So is your brain doing the work here, or is the device doing the work?
Sharing the effort.
At a certain point, you cannot tell.
Yeah, that's true. And then the fucking warlock wakes up, and then Jay Allard wakes up.
Oh my god!
No, the warlock wakes up, and then Alan Wake wakes up. But the act of him waking up, like, cracks all of his gross sweat skin, which then peels off. And it turns out he was Jay Allard the whole time, and we just all exist inside of Jay Allard's mind.
Yeah.
But then why are there PlayStations?
Well, he's got to create.
They're like white blood cells.
They keep
the nemesis.
Yeah, that's you gotta have something to fight.
He's got to have balance in his brain.
Yeah.
Somehow they're white blood cells.
And Nintendo's there because everyone just kind of likes Nintendo.
Yeah. Remember that period of time when
with the Wii, where like everyone's gonna have an Xbox and a Wii.
The fashionable thing to do was, as one of the other console executives, was to be like, anyway, you'll have your Wii and our console, obviously.
Right. And that's we talked about that to death before, but like that was just, you saw like Iwata sitting in his control panel at E3, like everyone will have their PlayStation 3 and their Wii, obviously. Everyone will have their Xbox 360 and their Wii, of course, and their Wii, and then that was just what actually happened. Yeah, it feels like people are saying that about the PC now, not in the same way exactly, but it's like it's on the PlayStation, of course, and I mean, yeah, it's on the PC too.
Right? Yeah. Except they would never admit to.
Right, because they can't.
Yeah, because they can't talk about it. It's really PC and Wii U is the winning combination. They don't have to
because people's parents still don't know really what a computer game is, it seems like. Culturally. Like, America's cultural parents are not aware of PC gaming as a medium.
It's true. I mean, America generally, I feel like.
Whereas America's cultural parents were all about the fucking Wii, so you had to talk about it.
That's true. Yeah.
This episode is an episode of Idle Thumbs, I guess.
Thanks for joining us.
Hooray.
Goodbye and hello.
Good boy and hello.
Yes.
Thank you.
Video games. You guys heard about that Nature Box?
Nature Box. Nature Box should have some lobsters.
Oh my god. Sound tasty? Want to feel good? Go to naturebox.com/thumbs to get not 10, not 20. Jake.
30?
Nope.
40.
Fuck you.
47%.
3 more percent than that.
51%.
1 less percent than that.
50%.
You're off your first box. 50% off your first box.
Oh, wow.
Naturebox.com/thumbs.
So I missed this episode. How much of that is actually the way that you talked as a kid before you became self-aware?
100%. 100%.
So you forced yourself into having a more flat accent?
Yeah, I really did. I was watching, actually, this
because
is
now
weird.
that I know it, I occasionally hear it. And
yeah,
it's the
yeah.
best.
People do once they actually know, for sure. Like, I was actually watching, like, home videos of myself as a kid recently. I was showing my girlfriend, she was curious, this wasn't something I forced on her. But she was just like, "Holy shit! You really talked like that. Like you're not joking when you talk about your accent. Yeah, it's 100%. My Bobby dolls, I play. I didn't even play with Bobbies that much, but I like my Ninja Turtles. I like my Bobbies. I had all my stuff. How you doing? How are you? It's 100%. My sister is in town right now, and we've been talking like this the whole weekend, and we both go in and out of it. Like it's completely unconscious. We just go in and out of it, and we had lunch with my cousin today, who's not from New England. She was born and raised here, but like her father is, my uncle, who was born and raised with 100%, Rhode Island accent. And when she greeted us, she was like, "You want to get an Arnold Palmer?" And she was just like, "What happened?" She's just like, "We're hanging out, and by osmosis, you said this thing, and my dad also sort of talks this way sometimes." And it was an Inception kind of moment. It was crazy.
Good. Spread the mind virus.
We kind of did.
I only, I just said the word but I was about to talk. I mean, I came from here, so I sound like this, except that I just said 3,000 times more than I do now, which is still an offensive fucking garbage degree. That's it.
That is a thing. That is actually a thing. I like.
What?
Jesus, I can't not do it.
You can't not.
I can't not. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's shitty.
I recently decided I need to start being more conscious of that, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's fucking hard to not say if you've spent decades living on the West Coast.
Yeah, it's shitty.
I mean, probably other
It's
places
extremely
too.
difficult.
But oh my god,
I fully cut hella out of my vocabulary, I think.
Oh, I never had hella. Southern California, we didn't have that.
I had that, but I like a lot. I super like.
Wicked was very difficult, and I still say it sometimes.
I feel like you can get away with Wicked.
It's Wicked hard. I don't know.
Wicked is one of those ones though that everyone, at least in America, just goes, "Oh, he said Wicked." Oh,
it's true.
Wicked. Oh, whereas Hella, it's like, "Fuck you, fuck you, Hella." That's garbage.
It's
just fucking shit.
It's wicked bad.
So much better.
All right.
Wicked. Wicked is like calling something wizard to me. Like,
just quaint.
It's kind of nice.
It's just wicked is at least a real word.
Yeah.
Hella? Fuck me.
Yeah, hell of, right? Is that what it's supposed to be?
It's a crunch down shitty contraction of hell of, which is also stupid. Like, you can't even unpack it to something good.
The worst was the Mormon kids who would say hecka.
Oh, yes!
Oh,
okay,
no.
Goodbye. Farewell episode. Thanks, Nature Box.
Nature Box, thank you.